Welcome to Alternate Ending, where we are still discovering good movies, one bad movie at a time. The new birth of our kind of old format. I am, as always, your host, Tim Brayton. With me today are very good friends of the show, frequent voices on this podcast, Mandy Albert and Brennan Klein. And you stand here listening to the first podcast in our sort of new era of doing podcasts where we're going to talk about movies and then just talk about something and see sort of what the something's going to be. This being the last Tuesday of the month, we are going to be talking about the movies coming out next month, December of 2025. So, let us know in comments or wherever how you find this. We're figuring things out as we go along, but we'll get there. And as we get there, welcome, Mandy.
Howdy.
Brian,
I feel like such a
feeling?
pioneer, despite the fact that we are doing literally nothing that you have not done before, but it still feels so new.
Yes.
It feels new. Oh, go ahead, Brennan.
Yes, welcome to Alternate Ending, the next generation. I'm Patrick Stewart.
When did you become Alan Tudyk impersonating Ed Wynn?
What? I thought you were doing Dracula.
I'm always a little bit doing Dracula.
Okay.
Yeah, you are.
I mean, that's the dream, isn't it? But yes, anyway, we're going to talk about it, but when Bill Skarsgård is playing Dracula, off-brand Dracula, good time.
Indeed.
Off-brand Dracula is historically my favorite Dracula.
Yeah,
So
no, we'll talk about it. Sorry to derail it instantly, but yes, I'm
No,
very
no.
excited for this
That's
rebirth.
That's part of the alternate ending tradition,
Yeah,
and we are nothing
like,
if not people who don't respect tradition.
Because
who do respect tradition.
If you recall the last episode we did together, we somehow made it take 2 hours, which I think of all the things that are going to feel strange and difficult in the absence of our friend Rob Jarzynski, I think it's just worth pointing out, Rob was always the person who kept Carrie and I from just going. And now there's me, and we're fucked.
Yeah.
Is basically what that means. So yeah, I'm not gonna put any kind of structure on this or try to divert conversations.
Everybody listening right now either knows what they're in for or is about to find out good
About
and
to
hard.
find out exactly. But yeah, so how you guys been? It's been a month. It's been a while.
Yeah, doing okay. I was telling you before the recording, but I'm very excited. I'm going to get to go to Sao Paulo for the CCXP convention. I'm being sent there by Screen Rant. I am going to have to learn I'm going to have to learn how to ask for the bathroom in Portuguese very quickly, en route to this convention.
Just figure out how you would ask for it in Spanish and then put like a bunch of random G's in there.
Yeah, it's really, add some X's and those like French C's with the squiggles.
Yes.
I do speak Spanish at a first grade level or whatever. So I'm pretty certain I can find someone that I can talk to either in English or in Spanish. But all of the promotional material I'm getting from them is all in Portuguese, and I can read it. I feel like I'm Superman with X-ray vision because Portuguese is basically like if somebody left Spanish out in the sun too long. And hearing it's fine. Speaking it, no, can't do it. But hearing and reading, I'm like, I'm with you. I can see what's going on.
All right, excellent.
You'll be very impressive, and also that's super cool.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited. This is actually going to be the first time I've been in a country where I don't speak the predominant language of that country, so it's going to be a very good experience for me, I think.
Yeah, no, that'll be a lot of fun, and I'm glad you have at least enough Brazilian Portuguese that you will not be like lost in an alley for the entire time you're down there.
Yeah, no, that'll be great. I mean, I might go down some alleys just to see what happens, but I won't be lost.
Good.
That's always good.
Yeah. How about yourself, Mandy? Anything exciting to share?
November and December are always kind of crazy times for me because
Sure.
it is peak theater kid season. in
It
these
is
parts.
peak theater kid season.
And it is currently peak theater kid season at the movies, too.
It is peak theater kid day.
But I don't think any
I
of
would
us have
say.
seen peak theater kid movie yet, so we can't actually talk about it.
Not just yet.
Not yet, and frankly, here's the thing: it's getting good reviews.
Yeah, but it's
That
getting
makes
good
no
reviews
I
in the
don't
way...
believe that those. I don't believe that.
I feel like it's getting good reviews in the way that the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies always got good reviews.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, it seems to me like an. We're talking about Wicked for those who haven't caught up. But I mean, this is something that I would have talked about if we were doing this structure podcast last month when we were doing our November forecast. It seems to me like an outstandingly poor way to adapt a musical, to adapt the first act, make it incredibly long, and I have powerful doubts about this decision-making process.
It's both a bad decision and a good decision because the thing about Wicked, nothing about the second act of Wicked is good.
But
really?
they're making it another movie. That's
Yeah,
next year.
that's what I'm saying. But this one movie that exists, sort of like It and It Chapter 2, all the good stuff is in one movie, so you can just sort of watch that one movie and just pretend.
This is very intriguing to me because I think the second act of Wicked is much better than the first half.
interesting. I think that's an exciting opinion that I have not encountered in the wild before.
Like, obviously,
it's-
haven't seen the movie yet, so cannot talk about what they do in the movie beyond, oh my god, the trailers look like hell. But,
Oh, yeah.
But as far as the stage show goes, like, all the songs I like are in the second half.
See, for me, Wicked is. I should just share my hand. I think Wicked is not a good show, but I think Defying Gravity is a good act break song. It's a good bring the curtain down song. And that is what Wicked has, to me, is a song.
Interesting.
Yeah, I completely missed the Wicked boat. It
You were
came
a
out.
teeny bit young for the Wicked boat when it was really, really big.
I was, but I did have a musical theater. Well, I was in musical theater, but not at the point that Wicked came out. And I had a friend who was, and she was obsessed with Wicked, but somehow I never. Maybe she talked and I didn't listen, but I just never picked up anything about Wicked other than. Yeah.
I will say this: you absolutely have the very specific vibe of theater gay who's not a Wicked theater gay, but whose girlfriend was a theater gay Wicked girl.
Oh,
If
thank
that makes
you.
sense. Like
No.
I think that very everything you just said very much like tracks with the aura you present in the
I
world.
really love that you have now created theater gay Wicked girl. This feels like some kind of counterpart to the manic pixie dream girl that is even more weirdly specific.
I have certainly not created theater gay nor Wicked specific theater gay. Like,
But
I think at this
specifically
point,
theater gay Wicked
the
girl.
girl who is a friend, the Wicked girl who is a friend of theater gay.
Yes.
I think is what I'm trying to create.
Yeah, and when I got into musicals, look, I'm not saying I'm better than anyone. I was definitely a Rent theater kid when I was a teenager, and that kind of was the pipeline towards like Next to Normal and more contemporary musicals, even like stuff like Avenue Q and things like that were actually playing when I was interested in them. But yeah, Wicked, everything I've heard about the plot of Wicked is absolutely baffling to me. I don't know how all of the individual pieces that I know about Wicked could possibly cohere into anything, so I do believe that it's probably a bad show.
Well, I think that surely all three of us are going to see the Wicked movie.
Oh, yeah, for
we
sure.
will.
That's going to happen. Okay. With about that level of enthusiasm, I might add.
Pretty much, just about. In any case, that was a long digression for it is peak theater kid season around these parts, and I adore my theater kids with all my heart, but they can, if any of you are listening, I love you, but you're very tiring, and you know
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Also, stop listening right now. What's wrong with you?
The phrase theater kid can be spoken in affection, but it can never be spoken as a compliment, I think.
Yes. That is a beautiful way of phrasing that. That is accurate.
What
Speaking
about
as a
when they
former
call
theater kid, just try to
themselves
shake
theater
it.
kids?
I mean,
that-
it still doesn't function as a compliment, even if it's
I
meant as
guess.
one.
Yeah.
Intention and execution are very different.
Fair enough.
So wait, is
I guess it's
what
like when you
show-
call yourself a klutz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably...
Oh, wait, so what show are you doing if you're doing a show right
Oh, no,
now?
no, no. We are not doing a show. This is Theater
Oh,
Kid
okay.
competition season.
Oh, we didn't do that when I was a theater kid. Oh, very exciting.
Yes, they are gearing up for International Thespian Society competitions.
Oh.
Ooh.
Okay.
So is this like monologues? And
It
is it kind of like a
monologues
cabaret
and
kind of
scenes
thing?
and songs. So many songs.
Oh, what is the really popular
Beetlejuice.
What? Really? I couldn't tell you a single song from that goddamn show. What?
Neither could I
we
until
need-
about 2
we
weeks
need
ago.
to breed a better batch of theater kids.
But no, I have now officially banned them from performing the song "When He Sees Me" from Waitress because I'm so tired of hearing it.
Yeah, I mean, well, because it was both popular and also viral on TikTok, which is such a poisonous combination.
Yes. I'm also a massive theater curmudgeon, and I'm of the firm belief that nothing good has happened in musical theater since about 1955.
I admire that you have been even more curmudgeonly than me, because I will at least make a carve-out for Sondheim.
I'll make a lot of, like, when you really start pressing me on this, it will end up falling apart. This is a fragile house of cards.
I might only make a carve-out for Sondheim, to be clear.
Like,
That's not true.
I have...
You're not the number one Pasek and Paul stan of the world.
I feel like Pasek and Paul went from, I kind of like the songs in La La Land, to, if I ever meet either of these people, I will run them over with a trolley.
I have an extreme soft spot that is probably not as ironic as it should be for Andrew Lloyd Webber.
You know,
and
the
that
most
actually
successful commercial
I
writer
do
of musicals
genuinely
for a
love
reason.
Jesus Christ Superstar, but I'm
Okay,
also
Jesus Christ Superstar is a special.
I'm also noticing that there's a pattern that musicals that I love tend to get turned into, at best, mediocre, and at worst, absolutely fucking atrocious movies. So, for example, my favorite musical is Carousel, and the movie of
bad
Carousel
movie.
is...
I don't even think this is a hot take. I think the only Rodgers and Hammerstein musical that even is like passable as a movie is Sound of Music. And it's great as a movie, but like the others are all awful.
Oklahoma's really boring, and they cut the best song.
Yeah.
And Carousel is just like, it's dull. Basically, all of the energy that is present in the stage show is missing. And then there's Jesus Christ Superstar. The movie was awful.
My feelings on Jesus Christ Superstar have been made very public.
And then there is The Phantom of the Opera, which I also adore, which was awful in its movie form. And so I'm basically thinking that any musical that I have even the slightest bit of affection for is going to get turned into an awful movie when they eventually turn it into a movie. And since I do admittedly have a bit of affection for Wicked, my assumption from the beginning has just been that it's going to be awful.
Sure.
Yeah, that makes
But
sense.
I haven't seen it yet.
Just maybe next time we get to talk about it. But I will say, if I give off non-Wicked theater gay energy, Andrew Lloyd Webber is your energy. Like it feels right to me. So I think it's not a shock to learn that you're a Phantom fan.
It shouldn't be.
I believe you'll find they are called fans, but fan is spelled
With a
No,
PH.
stop that.
But we have specific movies we came to talk about. I'm going to
We
steal
do.
the reins from Tim.
We
say,
so
do.
look
can
at
Well, I was
that.
have
Trying to
podcast.
keep us on track.
I was going to have a segue, which was speaking of musicals.
Ooh,
Because
okay.
the first movie I'm bringing to the table for our talking about movies, we used to call it Worth Mentioning. I think we're kind of agreeing to retire that branding without having come up with a new branding to replace it.
Movies
but the first
we want
movie
to talk about, TM.
.com.
Yes, perfect. The first movie I will be bringing isn't a musical per se, but it's very music driven. It is a film that has been a request of one of our Patreons, Christophe Romain, who has been very, very patient about not being angry that it's been like 15 months since he put in the request for this movie. But this is the 2003 film Any Way the Wind Blows, which is basically the Flemish version of Shortcuts, is how I would describe this if I had to kind of sum it up quickly. It is a day and a half in the city of Antwerp, and there's the online synopses all say there's 8 characters. It's really more like 12 or 14 characters, but there's sort of 8 characters that we end up following through the entire length of the movie. But basically just like a cluster of various Dutch-speaking Belgians going through their day. There are some connections between these people, but it's not like very tight connections going on. But basically we have this young woman named Natalie who is dealing with the fact that her boyfriend Walter has been getting a little too friendly with his ex, Lara. Meanwhile, Walter has just been fired for no real reason from his job as a projectionist. Natalie's brother, Chucky, who is the only person in this film I was able to reliably keep straight from the rest of the cast, because he is played by Matthias Schoenaerts, who is the only person in the cast that I had ever seen in anything. He is working as a lab assistant and stealing the bacteria they're using to fuel this art project he's creating. There is a school teacher named Paul who is trapped in a very unpleasant marriage. There is a man named Firmin who is the owner of a gallery, and Lara sort of knows him, and it's not like entirely clear why, but like they chat with each other a lot. And so we just have these people kind of going through their day. And while they are doing so, they keep kind of not quite crossing paths with this man just named Windman or Windman. I'm not actually sure exactly how to pronounce it, but he seems to be, it's like he is man of wind, like seems to be very much what it's drawing on, even though it's in English. And he's this kind of weird figure who, when he moves, he generates wind, and it kind of creates these disturbances around him, but potentially productive disturbances. And so what happens over the course of this day is Natalie is throwing a party, and for various good or less good reasons, every other member of the cast comes to the party, and Windman sort of turns the party into this like very big dance-off celebration of life. And what's sort of interesting about this is that that happens with like half an hour to go. And so the last half hour of the movie, because I think ordinarily I would expect this movie to climax at the party, it then goes to the next morning and everybody just kind of drifts back into their life, but everyone seems to just be in a better mood. And so we get like this last half hour to kind of see them reflecting on the day and night they had, and just kind of being a little bit in better emotional shape than they started. And I said this is a musical, kind of. It's not a musical, it's not sung through, but it was written and directed by Tom Barman, who I have never heard of this group, but apparently he is the frontman, I think, for a Belgian rock group called Deus, lowercase d, capital EUS. And this is his first and only film, if I'm not mistaken. And it's not his music. It's kind of this big cornucopia of lots of different kinds of music. But frequently throughout the film, there are these very music-oriented scenes that basically kind of function as musical numbers, because like the plot stops, the characters really start moving kind of rhythmically to the music, the camera directing and the editing all kind of start to absorb the rhythm of the music. So it's kind of almost like the movie Baby Driver claimed it was, in a way.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask, because that's the like quickest comp I could come up with in my head.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of that energy, although I think this movie does it better, frankly.
What, a European movie doing it better than Baby Driver? I mean, I unabashedly love Baby Driver, but I know movies can do that better.
I don't particularly like Baby Driver. I think Baby Driver didn't work, but that's neither here nor there. I will say, sort of the disappointing thing about this movie is by far its best scene is its opening scene, which is this opening credits scene where Windman seems aware of the credits floating around in space because he keeps like dodging them and trying not to dislodge them with his wind. And then at the end he gets into this like open port area and just like starts dancing on the port. And it's just a very lovely human, like slice of life human drama scattered between these 8 different people. Not necessarily my favorite genre, but I think this is an excellent version of it. In part because I think all of the music really does add a lot of momentum and texture that I really appreciated. And part because I was really very surprised by that last quarter. It's a 2-hour movie, and like I said, about the last half hour, it takes place sort of after the climax. And that just makes it a much more interesting character study, because it's not just like the characters are building up to this crescendo. It's sort of a crescendos, and then it just quietly trails off for another half hour, which not what I was expecting, and I rather liked it. This film is virtually impossible to find in an English language edition. It took me a while to scrounge it up. So it's out there if you are very deft at using the grey web, shall we say.
Or you could just watch it in Dutch, which would probably be
or you could watch it
itself.
in technically Flemish, which I gather
It's
is slightly
Dutch.
different than Dutch.
It's Dutch.
Okay.
It has some like little. Basically, the differences between Flemish and Dutch are like the differences between American English and British English.
So
like
they're
that's how
mutually
far
unintelligible.
apart. They are extremely mutually intelligible. There are little linguistic quirks that Flemish has that Dutch doesn't really have, and that proper Dutch speakers over in the Netherlands kind of look down on. But they are the same language.
I will also say I feel like this movie would benefit from knowing enough Dutch/Flemish to know what the hell you just said, because I think there's like regional accents involved.
There absolutely are. So one of my questions for you was going to be, what does the movie do with the setting of Antwerp? Because Antwerp is a city that I am personally very fond of, and I think it has a lot of potential to be an extremely cinematic city, because it is a gorgeous city. And it's a gorgeous city in some very unusual ways.
It is very much the kind of film that takes place where it takes place and could only take place there. It is not showing the city off. Like, it's not a tourist's vision, right? It's not like, here's all the pretty places you should go. It's the, like, just vibe that you get from knowing the city very well.
But, like, one of my favorite things about Antwerp, walking around it, was just, like, where will this random tunnel take me?
Sure, that feels at play. The other thing, I mentioned there's not really any tie-ins between the characters. What there is that they just are like in the same place at the same time, and the impression is kind of like Antwerp is a small enough city that happens, that you're just like, you're all living in Antwerp, and sometimes you'll all be walking through the same street.
It absolutely is. Like, Belgium only has one big city, and that is Brussels. And even Brussels, comparatively, like, to other big cities, is not that big of a city. So most of the other big cities, at least in Flanders, I haven't been to the French-speaking half of Belgium, they're, like, the size of medium-sized or, like, small medium-sized cities in the U.S. Like, you could walk to one end of from one end to the other of them in a day. Antwerp, in particular, is interesting to me because there's a lot of random stuff to find around corners, and something weird is always happening.
I think you would vibe with this movie.
Okay.
I really do, based on what you've just said.
Like, one of my distinct memories of being in Antwerp is heading out of my hostel and discovering that there was a parade going through town with enormous puppets.
Ooh.
And then apparently this was like an annual occurrence festival thing, because nobody else seemed to think that this was bizarre.
Okay. That is not something that happens or anything close to it.
That is okay, but I am pleased to hear that the movie appears to have been made by people who love Antwerp and want to show it off, in fact, in a non-touristy way.
It is very clearly, even though I don't know the city at all, it is very clearly a movie made by someone who does. Like sometimes you just can tell that it's like, this isn't a movie made by a native, and this one for sure is.
I might have to find this.
I think it was worthwhile. If you want to watch a real dinged up .avi copy in 2 halves, I can make it happen for you.
I mean, I might just hunt it out in Dutch Flemish, and, I haven't used it in years, so I'm sure I've lost most of my Dutch Flemish, but I could use a refresher.
All right.
Yeah.
So that was my first of 2 movies. We are bringing a collective 6 movies to the table, in case you were wondering how disciplined we're going to be. But Brennan, what do you have for us?
Yes, mine is actually also a Patreon pick. I am trying to go through and kind of fulfill my remaining Patreon requests, because we have shifted over to the Patreon is now focusing solely on Tim, but I still have outstanding ones. And again, sorry for the lateness of all the ones that I'm going to be covering, but as you may have noticed, the podcast kind of didn't exist. It fell into a void for a while. So this is actually my first opportunity to cover
It did.
one of these.
I was looking over the Patreon, and this is both sort of a public mea culpa and also just a story. But back in like June, Carrie and I did an audit of the podcast or the Patreon, and we were telling people like, as soon as we get episodes going again in July, we'll get it up there. And it's like, there has not been a podcast episode since June. Why did we lie to all of you good people?
Yeah, but
It wasn't a lie. It was our best intention, and then things went to shit.
we're fixing it now.
Yeah.
But yes, Carl Beasley asked me to discuss Son of Rambo, and I'm so glad that he did. I did not write down the year. That's my fault. But it's like '08 or I am typing really quick. Oh, it's '07. Yeah, it's a very quiet little British film from '07 in a genre that I somehow enjoy. I couldn't possibly explain why I like coming of age movies from England, but almost all of them work for me. But yes, this one is
If I can interject, I think it's because they allow their children to not be precious.
I think you're probably right. That's
Like
a great point.
British movies allow their children to be weird little prickly assholes, and ours do not.
Yeah, speaking of, well, okay, so the main character is very sweet. His name is he's 11 years old. He's named Will. He's played by Bill Milner. He has this strict upbringing in the Plymouth Brethren Church. His parents are very strict. Maybe he's a single mom. Sorry. He's not allowed to watch movies or TV. So during a class, when his class is screening a documentary, he has to just sit out in the hall and just kind of wait for the movie to be over because his upbringing will not allow him to sit through any kind of documentary or movie of any kind. So in the process, also out in the hallway is a 12-year-old bad boy. He's actually just being punished. His name is Lee. He's played by a very baby Will Poulter.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and he's the disgusting little shit that Tim was kind of talking about earlier.
I think, God, he's a child actor. We can't say mean things about child actor. Since the youngest I've ever seen Will Poulter, he just looks like someone that you want to shove downstairs. He just looks like an asshole.
Oh, yeah. No, this is peak of the prime of his powers at this point of just...
I'm saying like casting directors use that, and it's great. That they
Yeah. But yeah, no, he is just like a nasty little asshole. And they start to have friction, but then they bond. Will accidentally witnesses the Sylvester Stallone movie First Blood, and it awakens a nascent love of film that he did not know was there. And they work together to create a fan movie that is a sequel called Son of Rambo. And a lot of homosocial bonding ensues, lots of coming of age, finding oneself, all that good stuff. This was directed by Garth Jennings, which isn't normally a great sign for a movie. But
why do I know Garth Jennings?
He did the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie. He does the Sing movies.
That's right.
Yeah.
Not great.
Yeah, not a great filmography, but I think this movie is really special and precious. It's again, I'm kind of an easy lay for this kind of material. It's got Billy Elliot vibes. It's very Sing Street, definitely.
Okay.
But it's absurdly sweet. There is a third act plot moment that's a little too over the top for me, given how kind of low key and humanistic the rest of it is. But I think it's kind of a delight, and it's committed to showing this dimensionality in every character on the screen. Like, everybody gets at least one moment where you see, oh, there is more to this person than what you would assume based on just like the kind of archetype that they're portraying. Like this, and not just like, oh, the bad boy has a heart of gold, but it's like, oh, here's what the mom's thinking, here's what the teacher's thinking. Like, you're just getting little insights into all the people around Bill as he's growing up and kind of learning about the world. And Will Poulter is excellent. He's prickly, but he's also warm, and he's a perfect foil because he's got that nastiness that kind of is perfect to counteract the sweet little munchkin that is Bill Milner. And it's a really sweet movie. I was really bowled over by it. Have either of you seen Son of Rambo?
No.
I have not.
I am learning about its existence basically right now.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I remember for some reason seeing advertising for it back in 2006 or 2007 or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was a child, and so I just thought it was a sequel to the Rambo movies.
And it is spelled with a W at the end?
It is spelled with a W. I never questioned it. But
I mean, to me, that is simply a sort of foreshadowing for the relationship that the boys may eventually grow to have. So,
what?
It looks like the word rainbow when I see it.
Oh, got it. No,
when I looked at it, when I looked at it in your text message, I was like, "What the hell is son of rainbow?" And then I realized that I was simply looking at the word wrong.
Sight unseen, I understood it to be that in their amusing English way where they cannot pronounce the language correctly like we Americans can, that is how they phonetically assumed Rambo needed to be spelled.
That's probably what it actually is. I just can't read. You need to understand.
Yeah, it's about a kid who can't write, so it's perfect.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. I think it's really sweet, but also not overly sweet. It cuts the sweetness, but it is a darling kind of British indie movie. It's great. Anyway, Mandy, what do you got for us?
That sounds very sweet.
Yeah.
I am bringing something not very sweet. I'm also bringing something from 2024, amazingly enough.
Wow.
Yeah. I have not been able to get to the theater a whole lot because, kid and all that stuff. Those damn kids, they really cut into your theater going ability sometimes. So I've been kind of catching up on earlier 2024 movies, and so last night I finally caught Trap. Which was the latest from Mr. M. Night Shyamalan. So Trap... So funny thing, I learned about Trap. I didn't learn about it the way one normally learns about movies. I learned about it when a friend from work who knows that I kind of do bad movies for the site sometimes, texted me and said, I've got a movie that you're going to love because it's so awful. And that movie turned out to be Trap. And I was like, okay, and kind of filed it away. And then I noticed that people were actually seemed to be kind of liking it. And I've been a fan of rehabilitated Shyamalan over the last few years. So when I realized it was him, I was kind of looking forward to it. And I will say that I dug it. It wasn't Split. Split was my favorite of current era Shyamalan. But it's a lot of fun. I would say. I had a great deal of fun watching it. My husband, who does not normally go for, horror-ish thrillers, also had a lot of fun watching it. But no doubt, you are all out here wondering what on earth this Trap movie is about. And this Trap movie is about Josh Hartnett, who is playing a # girl dad.
Okay.
Who has taken his teenage daughter to a concert by a... I don't know, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, name an extremely teenage girl-friendly Instagram-era pop star.
I would say she's kind of giving... I mean, the music is giving Alessia Cara. I have seen Trap, by the way.
Okay.
But it's...
The music is absolutely Alessia Cara vibes, you're right.
Yeah, it's very mid-tempo, but yeah, she's definitely supposed to be,
but she's supposed to be, bigger... the big pop star of the day.
Lady Raven.
Lady Raven, yes. And she is played by, I hope her name is pronounced Salika. And apparently she goes primarily by the mononym Salika. However, her full name is Salika Shyamalan, because she is Mr. M. Night's Nepo baby. So anyway, Josh Hartnett takes his teenage daughter.
This was a good year for the daughters of M. Night Shyamalan.
It sure was.
Less so for Ishana. I'm so sorry. The Watchers is the worst movie of the year.
Oh,
it's so bad.
Oh, no.
That gets me excited.
Oh, no. That actually does get me a little more excited for
I will say it is the worst movie I have seen this year that was not made by someone that I know. And I'm not talking about Hauntology.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that's good. Anyway, she plays Lady Raven. And Josh Hartnett is just such a fantastic dad, because what kind of a great dad is it who not only takes his teenage daughter to a concert full of every other teenage daughter in the entire world, all of whom are screaming at decibel levels appropriate for, a jet taking off? Not only does he do that, time. But he also arranges so that she gets to go on stage with her idol, Lady Raven, and they get to, hang out backstage. And they even get to go for a ride in her limo, and she comes over to their house and plays a little song at the piano with his teenage daughter, and what a fantastic dad he is. But the twist, which is revealed about 5 minutes into the movie, actually, and I think may have been
revealed by
in
the end of the
trailers.
trailer.
Yes,
so,
and is also revealed in the trailers, as it turns out.
It's the only thing I know about the plot.
Premise, yes, the premise, not actually the twist, is that Josh Hartnett is also a serial killer known by the exceedingly uncreative name The Butcher. And the FBI has been tracking him and has determined via anonymous tip that he is going to be at Lady Raven's concert. And so now we see things largely from his perspective as he attempts to escape the trap that has been laid for him via a series of clever machinations. He has also trapped a 22-year-old man in the basement of a safe house and is using him as a hostage. So that's also a very exciting wrinkle. He's also married to Alison Pill, who also gets involved once they bring Lady Raven, who at that point is a hostage, over to the house. And it simply becomes a game of cat and mouse and rodent and badger and many other animals chasing each other in circles. But yeah, I thought this movie was a lot of fun. It is, like I said, it's not as somebody who pretty much considers herself on team M. Night Shyamalan at this point. I do not think it was as good as Split, but I do think that M. Night should confine himself to making movies about strong-willed young women who have to escape from psychotic men using their resourcefulness.
Yes, that is really excellent. And I don't love Split, but I think Split is kind of inarguably a better movie than Trap is, but I also had a very good time with Trap. It is hella stupid.
Trap was more fun to watch than Split. Like, Split was not a movie that made me feel good about the state of the world or myself or anything else. But I came out of it feeling like I had experienced a darn good movie.
Yeah,
just like
Trap
it's
is
a
very
nasty movie in a way that Trap is not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Trap is just kind of daffy and fun because Shyamalan made it as a kind of infomercial for his daughter's music and not so much as a movie. So the movie parts.
Oh dear.
I mean, it didn't
sounds like we have heard
work.
at least one person's vote on the quality of Salika.
She is lovely and she has a very nice voice.
Yes, and she looks like a pop star.
Absolutely.
And she sounds like the type of pop star that I don't listen to.
And also, once she gets off stage, she is the star of the show. Like, I am a big fan of M. Night's Nepo Baby over here. Because the part of the movie where the concert is no longer happening and Lady Raven has pretty much learned what is going on and that she is kind of in the captivity of the Butcher and must now figure out a way to wiggle herself out of it. That was the part of the movie where I came the closest to the edge of my seat.
Yes, it works really well. And also because a lot of the concert stuff, you get the sense that maybe M. Night Shyamalan has never been to a concert.
I did kind of get that impression, yes. Which makes it especially funny that he cast himself as a concert promoter. Yeah.
Yeah, but there seems to be an intermission every 3 songs in a concert, like an
this
afternoon
is a long
pop concert.
concert.
Yeah, it's really wild. But yeah, no, Trap is super fun. And also, well, you didn't mention the FBI profiler is played by Hayley Mills, because who better to trap a parent?
Indeed.
Hey.
And she gets the kind of pride of place that M. Night Shyamalan has given to Betty Buckley in a lot of his movies.
Yes.
And I think she does a great job with not very much. I wish there was more of her.
She definitely does a great job with not very much. My biggest complaint about the movie is that every single member of law enforcement portrayed in the film is mind-bogglingly idiotic.
But that's movies.
It is, but it goes beyond even the level of imbecility that you're used to from movie cops. In the last 10 minutes of the film, not even the last 10 minutes, I think in the last 5 minutes, a decision is made by the law enforcement officers that was just, it was beyond unforgivably stupid.
Yeah, but again, this is an M. Night Shyamalan script, so everyone's kind of stupid.
It's true.
There's those things where people are like so impressed at what a good liar Josh Hartnett is as the killer, but every time he has to lie, he sounds like a robot that just learned English. So I'm just like, I don't know what you're seeing from him.
He does, and he also has extreme crazy eyes.
Oh my god!
Somebody on Letterboxd
I mean,
described them as shark eyes, and I think that is an accurate description of them. He has also perfected like the tight-lipped fake smile that definitely looks like it was just kind of pasted on his face from a magazine cutout.
Oh yeah, no, it is
That's how I've always felt about Josh Hartnett, though.
He's great. I mean, this is this is one of those roles he was born to play kind of things.
It is a good Josh Hartnett performance, but yeah, it just doesn't always fit what the script is saying about him.
It does not. It's true. I refuse to believe that this man has not been caught up to this point.
Yeah, no, he does not handle it incredibly well.
But again, everything, honestly, pretty much everything with Salika Shyamalan in it, I really love, because she is the only character who kind of tips over the other side of the fence into actually seems kind of clever. Like, was written to be clever and turns out to, in reality, be clever. And even though it was very much not my type of music at the concert, and M. Night Shyamalan doesn't understand how concerts works, I kind of liked the concert scenes.
Yeah, the vibe of concert that the performances capture, it's right. It works.
It reminded me of the scene in Richard Jewell that is just like lengthy sweeping shots of a Kenny Rogers performance.
Yes.
Which again,
this is the first thing that's been said that I actually have like a reference point
which
for.
like Kenny Rogers I'm actually very fond of, and I think that more movies should feature full-length performances of The Gambler. But the same like kind of chill concert vibe was present.
Yeah, it does feel like you get to go to a concert without all of the hassle.
Kinda, yeah.
So that's kind of nice. And like you were saying, it's that kind of concert is very bad to be at in person with all the shrieking preteens, but you don't. It does not emphasize that element of the concert.
Extremely.
Yeah, it did not remind me of the One Direction concert that I went to, and there was a Niall girl right behind me, and I could tell because she emitted a train whistle every time Niall scratched his nose or sang a note or did anything. It's a brutal experience in real life.
Indeed. In my life, when I was much younger, I went to one Backstreet Boys concert.
Oh.
And after that, I was tempted to swear off going to concerts forever because I was convinced that was what all of them were like. But yes, none of the terrible aspects of concerts were there in this case, or at least you got to view the terrible aspects of concerts from afar. And it was also a good scene setter in the same way of the Gambler scene from Richard Jewell, because that too is a kind of deceptive calm before the storm moment right before he finds the bomb.
Ooh.
That again also we all know he's going to find because everybody who saw the trailer knows the story.
Right.
So similar kind of deal. So anyway, yeah, I thought this movie was super fun. I did not think it was bad at all. I would love to see Salika Shyamalan not directed by her father.
Yes.
I would also like to say, Knight, we know you love Alfred Hitchcock. You can calm down on trying to replicate everything in Rear Window shot for shot.
To be fair, he's not even the director who has made that the most obnoxious, like, personal
It's
brand.
true, but he did it a lot in this movie. Like, more than he usually does.
Okay.
I would say, if there's another complaint I had about it, I absolutely did not buy Josh Hartnett and Alison Pill as two people who have ever been a married couple or who have ever been in the same room together. Like, I think they are both very fine performers individually, but I think in order for the stuff between them to work on any kind of emotional level, I needed to be able to believe them a little bit more, and I just didn't. Maybe it's that I could tell too early that she knew he was up to no good, which she does. And I don't even feel like I'm spoiling anything from that, because the moment she has her first scene, you can tell. You can tell she already knows.
Does that feel like a spoiler, Brennan? Do I need to not see this movie now?
I would categorize it as a minor spoiler in my own mind, but it's not like going to ruin the movie.
No.
because I will say I have not seen this movie. I should, because it's kind of a biggish deal. But
I think you'll enjoy it.
Because the thing is, I was like ready to embrace the resurrected Shyamalan, also after Split. But Old and Knock at the Cabin just sucked.
Yeah, Old was not it.
And I will say, my kind of biggest reaction to what I've heard about the movie thus far, I feel that The Butcher and Lady Raven are not good names for a serial killer and a major pop star, but they're kind of boringly pedestrian, not good names. And I'm very disappointed that the creator of Midsize Sedan, the great rapper, could not come out with a more deranged name, at least for his pop star.
Maybe he learned the wrong lesson from Midsize Sedan.
I feel he must have. He must have misunderstood the criticism.
But no, I think you'll enjoy. I was also apparently the only person in the entire world who liked Glass.
I don't think you're the only person who liked Glass.
I'm the only person I know
who liked Glass.
You've certainly seen Glass, which I can't say I have. So I was not tempted after finishing Split to
I do not
continue.
have any particular reason to think that you would especially enjoy Glass. So
yeah, no, I'm
take that
perfectly
for what
happy
you
to
will.
live in this,
but no, I think
version
you
of
will,
the universe.
I think that especially in this day and age of nobody ever doing anything interesting with visuals, you will really enjoy Trap.
Okay, I appreciate that. That is specifically a way to hook me in. I guess I should probably try to use that as a segue, like in terms of interesting visuals, which my second pick has certainly that. It is a very experience, is how I would describe this movie. This also is a Patreon request. This one is courtesy of Dan Prestwich. The film, if that is the word for it.
This is promising.
It is a 55-minute long editing exercise, shall we say. The title of this production is Doggy Woggies Poochie Woochies.
And it's got exclamation points, right?
Ah, yes, Doggy Woggies Poochie Woochies. Thank you for calling me in. It came out in 2012. It is a work from a group of people who I think it's a filmmaking collective, but maybe it's just the name that they slapped on there. I don't know. It's the work of something called Everything is Terrible. And Everything is Terrible does this. Like they do these films that are cut from other films. So I can tell you that Doggy Woggies Poochie Woochies in particular is their third completed project. And it is cut together from movies with dogs in them, or even more specifically, dog movies, right? So you have your Tim Allen is the Shaggy Dog, you have your Air Bud, you have your Air Bud 2 Golden Retriever, you have both of your Incredible Journeys, including, I believe, the original Incredible Journey from the 1960s. So just movies with dogs, all the movies with dogs. And not just movies, also some ephemera, including like a 1980s instructional videotape for So You Just Adopted Your First Dog. Here's how you take care of it. You need to train your dog, and so on and so forth. And veterinarian videos, so we get some like reference footage of dogs being shaved for surgery. There are at least 2 puppet dogs, one of which I recognized for some reason. I think it might have been a Nickelodeon show, but I wouldn't swear to that. One of which seems to be a Christian children's dog puppet show, because the dog in question, every time we see it, it's like praying to Jesus by name.
That sounds kind of like Davy and Goliath.
But definitely like puppets, like Muppet style rod puppetry, where they're like wagging its hands from below. So definitely not Davy and Goliath, but so just dog media, people talking about dogs, footage of dogs, movies that are very dog oriented, movies that just happen to have a dog in them. If it's got dog vibes, it was in some way could have been cut into Doggy Woggies Poochie Woochies.
The faces that I am making are entirely because I just looked up what this is.
So we're in the we're in the sane part.
Yes.
Right?
Oh my. Okay.
So this movie that has been cut from lots of footage of dogs is a remake of Alejandro Jodorowsky's The Holy Mountain.
Oh.
What?
It is obviously a very loose remake, but that's okay because The Holy Mountain is a pretty plot-free movie in the first place. Insofar as this is really grappling directly with The Holy Mountain, it's more kind of the vibes of trying to find one's own spiritual center in a kind of cosmically mishmash universe. But there are like some specific nods. For example, when I said that there's footage of dogs being shaved before surgery, well, that tracks the opening sequence of Holy Mountain where we see pilgrims being shaved as a sort of form of penitence. And the audio from Holy Mountain is brought in for when the main dog is gathering fellow pilgrims to journey with him. They are all identified with certain planets, and so that audio has been brought in. But in the Holy Mountain, the characters like say, my name is whatever, and I am from Jupiter or whatever. In Doggy Woggy's Poochie Woochies, that line of audio has been clipped in, but the name has been replaced with the sound of a dog barking. So it's like, my name is Ruff, and I am from Venus. It is very structured, so I can say without feeling like a moron the structure of the film. It is sort of themes evoked by the planets, kind of, where we meet, one of the pilgrims, and then we go on a journey of footage of like dogs being euthanized. Not like dogs being euthanized, but like children being sad because their dogs are being euthanized in movies. Or we go through just an incredible list of very terrible puns that lasts for like 3 minutes. Or just anything you can think of that happens habitually in dog movies. Like there's a montage of men getting bitten in the dick by dogs, and it made me terribly sad that this movie was put together before John Wick Chapter 3, because that has just some wonderful dogs smacking men in the dick energy. So it is simultaneously this kind of thematic compendium of all the hackiest cliches in dog movies, and also a remake of a Jodorowsky film for some fucking reason that is legible as a remake of the Jodorowsky film, which I read that beforehand. I was like, okay, that's going to be fucking weird. And you can kind of tell if you're primed for it. And it follows the same journey of like trying to make this journey to a place and sort of being mistaken for Jesus. And so like there's this kind of influx of people trying to make the main dog more than it is because they need it to be Jesus for their own spiritual energy. Some of the footage is like run through weird video editing software, so it becomes these like hideous deformed kaleidoscope of dog faces kind of melding between each other. It's weird.
You don't say.
It's weird. I liked it.
It
I will
sounds
say
like
that.
a thing that could be liked, which is shocking.
I will say this: Dan, who assigned this movie to me, gave this movie a 4.5 stars on Letterboxd. And I don't think he was like doing a bit. I don't think he was doing a bit. I think he genuinely. I haven't Letterboxd it yet at the time of recording. By the time the episode goes live, I will have. I'm probably going to give a 4. Like
Ooh.
It reminded me of The Green Fog, which was that Guy Maddin film from a few years ago, where he remakes the entirety of Vertigo using footage from movies set in or shot in San Francisco, only because this is remaking something that's already very amorphous and plotless and more about vibes and themes. It has a much freer hand to just kind of become this weird cosmic meditation on dogs and movies. And I will say, at the end of the 55 minutes, I felt kind of sick in my gut at the abuse and indignity that we have put on dogs in movies. Like, I think that's part of what the movie is actually doing, maybe even on purpose, is just kind of calling attention to how trashy and exploitative almost like putting dogs in films can be used when you're just trying to use it for like a cheap joke or a cheap emotional hook. So in a sense, it's also just a really good movie about like be mindful of dogs in movies because you probably, you know, we're doing terrible things to these animals. And it's also not even incidentally, although I don't think it's like what I responded to the most. It's pretty funny in that like YouTube poop. Let's just put goofy shit together and have it look like the one, like Tim Allen is talking to, you know, whoever, Cruella de Vil, or talking to like Nick and Nora and the Thin Man or something. I don't know. But like, it's got this like jokes being created by very juvenile, contrasts in the footage, basically. And I think I was sufficiently weirded out by the rest of the movie that I wasn't laughing at it because the whole thing was such a head trip. But there are jokes that land, I think. And if I watch this movie again, and I might, it's only 55 minutes long, I expect to appreciate the humor more than I really have the headspace to appreciate this trip through.
Yeah, you need the bandwidth.
Yes.
That sounds really fascinating.
It's
I need
it's
to
a
have
thing.
seen The Holy Mountain first.
You
'cause I've
need
not
to have seen
that,
The Holy
but
Mountain first. I think
curious.
that actually is a prerequisite because part of the joke is recognizing the sometimes very strained attempt to bring in the Holy Mountain through dog footage. Like the best we can do is again like Tim Allen licking a woman's face and the shaggy dog, and that's going to represent something from the Holy Mountain. So that is sometimes the joke, is knowing what they're trying to get at from the original film.
What a tremendously odd world we live in.
It's
And
I'm
yet
glad
it's such a beautiful world. Yes.
I'm glad that someone was born who would come up with this idea, and having come up with this idea, put it into practice. I feel we are, as a species, richer for the existence of Nick Meyer and Dimitri Simakis, who were credited as like not that. I'm trying to remember how they were credited in the film, but it was like Commodore Gilgamesh and Ghoul School.
Oh,
Of course.
sure.
Yes. Which is Commodore Gilgamesh is already kind of a weirdly high-minded name for like a silly, stupid in joke.
Well, they
So,
are
I don't know.
Jodorowsky fans, so.
Well, there's also that. Yes.
Yeah.
But
okay.
yeah, gonna potentially seek out more Everything is Terrible joints. They are obviously all free online because it would
Oh,
be
great.
super illegal to make money off of them because
Yeah.
they are like apparently 2,000 movies or 2,000 clips at least were used
Holy
in
shit.
Doggy Woggies, Poochie Woochies, which
Hell
incidentally
yeah.
is spelled with Z's. It's Doggy Woggies with a Z and Poochie Woochies with a Z.
Naturally.
Seems to be some inconsistency as whether Doggy Woggies and Poochie Woochies are one word or two. The IMDb and Wikipedia and Letterboxd all have them as one word each, but the film itself seems to strongly indicate that it should be two words. So take that as you will. You will not have a hard time Googling it. There are not many things called this.
And
But yeah,
speaking
so,
of, I think
so. Thank you, Dan, for putting me in contact with the thing I would assuredly not have found out about.
yeah, that's a beautiful thing. I do want to watch that. But mine is also the next movie that I'm bringing is a singular title. It is called Fuggy is a Bastard. Fuggy is spelled F-O with an umlaut G-I. It's a French language movie from Switzerland. My boyfriend Ben and I found this movie basically by accident while we were at this was a magical thing in and of itself. We were in Toronto. We went to there is a brick and mortar store that is a Vinegar Syndrome store, like the
Oh,
Blu-ray
shit.
label. Yeah.
Oh, fuck, dude. I need to
Wow.
come back and visit you.
Yeah. So, well, that's in Toronto, so you can just go.
Oh, whatever.
It's
Toronto.
not far from
Okay.
you.
Okay.
But yeah, so it was a really cool place to go. They sell Blu-rays from other boutique labels there as well. This was not a Vinegar Syndrome release. It was actually a release of Anus Films, which is very much their logo is mimicking the Janus Films logo.
All right.
But it is a gay softcore erotica art house movie that I think perfectly threaded the needle between being all of those things.
Okay.
It is based on a novel that I'm sure is just the pulpiest trash you could possibly imagine. But it is about a young man named Beni. It is about him entering into a relationship with this famous to him, but like a local punk rocker named Fagi. And it's about him being kind of in awe of this musician and the musician kind of using him. It is just like my other movie, this is a coming of age movie, but coming is just spelled a little differently for this one. It's not never mind.
Incidentally, there are 3 separate dog cum jokes in Doggy Walkies Poochie Woochies. Thank you for.
Of course, there are.
Fuck yes, and there actually is a kind of dog motif in Fuggy is a Bastard also.
Strangely, I'm more nervous about the implications of that one than I am of the ones from Doggy Woggy's Poochie Woochies.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that you should be nervous. Although, if depending on what you're nervous about, you should be. Swiss French, probably even weirder.
Yes.
But so this movie is kind of exploring how the power dynamics of a relationship can shift. And in very a lot of the time it is exploring this via the sex that they're having with each other and with other people. It's very sexy, it's very kinky, but it's also got a really sharp screenplay. Where some things are called out very explicitly and some things you just learn about from how the characters are behaving with one another. It's like a genuinely good and interesting character study. It's full of these like beautiful art house filmmaking moments, especially in some drug trip sequences, which are normally my least favorite part of any movie, but I think they're executed really well here. It's not Almodovar, but it is shockingly well made softcore Euro smut that has as big of a brain as a throbbing erection, and it is very softcore. It is not, you're not seeing like penetration, it's not like a full on pornographic movie, but it's just an incredibly horny movie. It's from 1998. It's just this horny European character study that I really, really recommend it. I need someone to talk about this movie with because it was really good.
I mean, I am certainly sold on the idea of erotica art cinema, and it doesn't sound like you're describing this, but it sounds like you're describing something that could at least be put in conversation with In the Realm of the Senses, which I would assume you have not seen.
I have not seen it, so I cannot speak to that.
Because In the Realm of the Senses is a Japanese film. It's a straight film, but it's basically
that's why I haven't seen it.
It's about the political events around this like high-ranking noble couple having an affair and sort of how their affair destabilizes their political situation. But we only ever see the sex they're having. There is like not a single frame of the movie that is not in their bedroom, basically, and we just kind of have to intuit what's going on around them. It's a great film. It's I think a masterpiece, one of the best Japanese films of the 70s. And this doesn't sound like that, but it does sound like it's sort of we're watching the sex, but the story is happening sort of around the sex, and we sort of have to grasp.
I was going to say, this sounds quite a bit less vicious than In the Realm of the Senses.
Well, it would have to be.
I mean, I don't know. But
is Fagi a bastard because he emasculates his boyfriend? With a knife, not just like
no,
like cuts his genitalia off, and he then bleeds to death. Is that what happens in Fagi is a Bastard?
No, but
it is in fact less vicious than In the Realm of the Senses.
It is less vicious, but it is doing things that I think were studied before the peach scene in Call Me by Your Name was brought to the screen. Among other things. But yeah, so I would say like Fagi is a Bastard. It's not only sex. Like there is a story going on around it. You do leave the bedroom. It is like a full, complete kind of,
and that's kind
story.
of what I gathered. Yeah.
But yeah, I really recommend it.
But it's like sex is storytelling is sort of what I'm hearing.
Yeah. It is going against the thing that people are saying that Gen Z is saying on Twitter, and I don't know how many people are actually saying it, but it's like we should cut all sex scenes because they don't move anything forward. This movie, the sex scenes are the key to understanding what the story that's being told.
Not to go on a tangent, I do regret to say, as someone who interacts with Gen Z film people, they believe that sex scenes are bad.
Oh, okay, that's upsetting. Well, I will just keep watching these old movies.
The
sounds to me like somebody needs some Clockwork Oranging.
The class of film students, God bless, that I work with, they're not the cutting edge of the avant-garde, but they do not care very much for sexy movies. No, they do not.
That's all right. The world needs good family films too.
Yeah, but
Suppose.
not only.
Not only.
But maybe speaking of, what's your next movie, Mandy?
Oh God, that's not the segue I was planning, but I guess it works.
I'm so sorry. Did you have
there's
one?
so many
Shall we hear it?
No, that worked out just fine. So the next movie, which we have all seen,
It
for
is out of
some
6
reason,
movies, the only one we have also, well, for some reason.
For some reason, we've
because
all
Yeah,
seen
the
this one.
dog remake of The Holy Mountain we haven't all seen somehow.
But it's
The Holy
shorter.
Mountain
It's
we
half
haven't
as
all
long.
seen somehow.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Then anyway, the second thing I shall be bringing to the table is Hot Frosty, which is not a weird sex thing,
It sounds like a weird sex thing.
It should be a weird sex thing.
and is also not a new menu item at Wendy's.
Which I would order.
I would at least be curious to see what it was.
Yes, but is in fact a Netflix original that is that seems to be doing. I mean, Netflix doesn't release their numbers, but just based on what I have seen buzz-wise, it would indicate that it's doing fairly good numbers over on that platform.
Yeah, it seems to be. And
Go ahead.
they do release a weekly chart that says how many hours the movie has been streamed for, but the numbers are incredibly suspect.
Yes.
I'm sure they are.
I will say this seems to be the hit film with the people who watch Hallmark Channel Christmas movies, which is for some reason a demographic I have become very plugged into over the last year because my mother is one of them. My mother has seen this film, and so has my boyfriend's mother. So there you
Everybody's
go.
mother has seen this film.
This is the thing.
Including
it is
my
a
son's
movie
mother.
that's. It is. There you go. It is a movie that sounds like it could be describing a sex act that is in fact a movie you could and should recommend to your mother. So that is where we are with Hot Frosty.
Correct. So regarding Hot Frosty, it is.
We have not clarified what Hot Frosty means.
We
Do
have
this for
not
us, please.
clarified what Hot Frosty means. I am about to do this. So in Hot Frosty, there is a lady named Kathy, played by poor Lacey Chabert, who deserves better than this, and has deserved better than this for a very long time, but seems to have just been consigned to Hallmark movie prison for the rest of her career.
Well, I bet Netflix paid her about 30% more than Hallmark did.
It's
so that's
true.
probably,
I
that's probably
doubt
nice.
Lacey Chabert is actually hurting.
Apparently, during the promo for Hot Frosty, Lacey Chabert has mentioned that she has been not threatened, but like warned by the Hallmark people that, ooh, Lacey Chabert, now that you're 42 years old, we might need to not have you be the lead in our romances anymore because you are too old. And it's like, the 60-year-old women who watch these movies are not going to be turned off by a 45-year-old lead. What the fuck is wrong with you people?
Also, Lacey Chabert does not look 45.
She also does not.
No.
She
she's-
looks like
she's 42.
Lacey Chabert.
Right.
Saying that she's 42 really shakes me to my core. Like
Also
I don't understand that.
I still think of her as Gretchen Wieners.
So this conversation happened tonight. I was talking with my partner's mother, and then we were talking about how Lacey Chabert and the male lead of Hot Frosty, who we will eventually get to, we promise.
Will we, though?
Lacey
Must
Chabert,
we?
Lacey Chabert is older than he is, and isn't that a neat thing? And I didn't push back on it, but I was like, that seems weird to me. Like, how can she possibly be that much older? Like, how could she be in her 40s? Because I know she's younger than me. And that is how I made the realization that it is now very much possible for someone to be both younger than me and well along into their 40s. And that was not the best feeling that I've had today.
This will happen eventually to us all.
Will it just not, though?
If we're lucky,
We can hope that it happens to us all. So anyway, Lacey Chabert plays a woman named Kathy who owns a little diner in a small town in New York, in somewhere where it gets cold.
Somewhere where it gets cold.
Yes.
What is the name of the small town, Mandy?
It's called Hope Springs.
Oh, isn't that neat?
lovely?
It's
Isn't that a lovely
adorable
thing
and
that
subtle.
was already the name of a movie?
Yes.
Well, that's why this is not called Hope Springs, but rather called Hot Frosty.
Indeed. Though possibly Hope Springs would actually reflect its content some more. But Anyway, so she's
I think Hot Frosty is a very descriptive title.
fair
but
enough.
Keep going.
So anyway, she's a widow. She was married to apparently the only handyman in not only the entire town, but like the entire state of wherever the heck she lives. Because since her husband's death, not only is she like sad and forlorn, but also everything in her house is broken and no one can fix it.
Well, it seems to me that she's not taking the initiative to ask anyone to fix it, because she has that post-it that's like, call the maintenance person, and she just doesn't.
That's also true. Like, I guess
This is Kathy's fault.
I guess husband
But-
used to fix everything, and now husband isn't there, and poor Kathy does not
But
know how to
also-
move forward in life.
I think it is fair to point out that Hope Springs appears to have a population of about 35, despite having a very well-developed commercial downtown core.
That's
Yeah, that was
pretty
wild.
common in Christmas movies, I feel like.
Fair.
Where in
Yeah.
the small town where the Christmas cheer needs to be reinserted, everyone
There's
knows
also a-
everyone else, and also there is a main street worthy of a large city.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that
that's
is
just
a-
sticking with Christmas movie tropes.
Yeah, but the small town plaza looks like it's a kind of urban center in Portland. Like, it is, first of all, gross and ugly, and second of all, way too big.
Okay, but gross
I
and ugly
believe-
is going to become a theme in our discussion of this movie.
Oh,
That's true. But
poor
it looks
Frosty.
like everything's made of like obsidian, and it's all kind of damp. I don't understand the look of this town. It's not a small town vibe. It's really ugly.
It's
I don't like
quite-
it.
It's shot, I think, not in Toronto, but somewhere else in Ontario, I think is what I picked up.
That somehow
That
doesn't
makes
surprise me.
sense because I've been to Toronto for the first time this year, but I've been to Toronto twice this year, and it is not the prettiest city I've ever been in.
It is a city whose defining characteristic is that it looks like all the other cities.
Yeah.
But no,
Sorry,
it is.
continue, Mandy.
It's true. It's like somebody took Portland and let a psychotic brutalist architect run wild in it a little bit.
Yeah. I'm so mad at the way her cafe looks from the outside.
Right?
It's quite
Thank you.
hideous.
Not right.
I would not go into that cafe.
It it looks like a Disney World cafe where it's like just a shiny glass facade in front of like just a concrete box that if you see from the like air, it's just like flat and gray.
Yeah, it's
Something
just,
it's awry.
yeah, it's viscerally upsetting
That
to me.
cafe belongs in a David Lynch movie with very different lighting.
Yes, very much.
Or potentially with the same lighting, depending
Or
on how
possibly
exactly
with the
David
same lighting.
Lynch wanted it to seem creepy because it's off-putting. And they have like this is getting very deep in the weeds for a movie that we have still not even started talking about the plot. But the name tags at the diner are all like 6-inch wide triangles in like bright red plastic.
It's like a little,
Go ahead.
it's like a little bit of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari snuck in here at Winter
Something like that. I was just so fucking thrown. I couldn't deal with those name
The
tags. I
aesthetics
had
in
to
this
pause
movie.
the movie.
The aesthetics in Hot and Frosty are really weird.
They're really
Like, they should be studied. Somebody should do. Tim, you're already trying to finish, but somebody should do somebody should do their film studies.
It'll be my
dissertation.
celebration for finishing my diss. I will write a paper on Hot
Somebody
Frosty.
needs to do their film studies diss on the aesthetics of Hot Frosty. So anyway, Hot Frosty. Okay, so Kathy is sad and everything in her house is broken and she has no direction in her life. And what does a woman with no direction in her life need? Well, she needs a scarf, you see.
She sure does.
She needs a very particular scarf that her friends who are trying to, I don't know, cheer her up, give her direction, whatever, basically like force upon her. I believe they claim that the scarf is her destiny or something like that.
That sounds about right.
Yes, the word destiny
it is amazing.
used.
Yes, it is amazing how much the film requires the scarf to be inherently interesting.
And it is
And how much the
not.
scarf fails to live up to that expectation.
I have a scarf like it. It's a red wool scarf. It's just a scarf.
It is a very functional looking scarf. I'm sure it is nice and warm.
I mean, and given the omnipresence of snow, clearly you need to stay warm.
Indeed, and
Hope
speaking of the omnipresence of snow, as she is walking home, she happens upon like a snowman competition and discovers amongst the snow sculptures a quite impressive snow sculpture of an extremely chiseled naked man.
One of the good folks of Hope Springs is working through something with the
Clearly.
snowman sculpture.
I want to meet that character because we never do.
Right?
We
Who
never,
sculpted
ever
this?
do.
That's what I want to know. Because it is quite an impressive work of snow
It's-
art, especially compared
it's
to
a-
all the others.
It's a porny
Yes.
snowman.
Oh yeah.
Like, the snowman has, like, deep V cut, like, leading down to the place where the sculptor has tastefully failed to sculpt. Below the
where the
like,
sculptor has suddenly gone Ken doll on all
Yes.
of us. Yes. And so Kathy feels herself strangely drawn to this very naked Ken doll snowman. When I heard the premise, I was really just expecting like your standard snowman here, but no, that is a literal man in most ways,
Yep.
made of snow. And she decides that the snowman needs the scarf more than she does. And so she puts the scarf on the snowman, and you will
Something
never
that even
guess.
the talents of Lacey Chabert cannot justify.
No. That is probably the moment in the movie when poor Lacey Chabert looks the most like she is regretting all of her life choices. And there are so many moments that she has to do that. But in any case, I bet you can never guess what happens after she puts the scarf on the snowman.
there must have been some magic in that old red scarf she found.
Indeed. What happens is the second ever movie that I can personally remember seeing in which a snowman comes to life and begins pursuing an actual human woman, and indescribable horrors ensue.
Yes. And this is certainly a more off-putting and scary movie than Jack Frost.
Yes, very much so. Well, I don't know. I was very put off by Jack Frost, but
Fair enough.
but I thought of Jack Frost more often than I was hoping to think of Jack Frost.
I thought of both Jack Frosts more than I was hoping to think of either.
I haven't seen the other Jack Frost, and I'm not particularly eager to race out and do so.
It is so much more disturbing than the one you've seen.
Oh, great. Awesome. That also does not make me want to run out and watch it. So anyway, the snowman comes to life, as you've already figured out, and he becomes a live naked man who also very much falls into the, like, Born Yesterday kind of version.
The Born Sexy Yesterday.
Yes, Born Sexy Yesterday, exactly. And he has to steal some clothing and things like that, which immediately gets him on the bad side of idiotic local law enforcement, because idiot cops are going to be a theme in my movies this time around. And of course his name is Jack, because the people who wrote this movie don't have that much creativity.
Mm-mm.
And he is played by Dustin Milligan. Is that his name?
That is his
He is
name.
an actor
Yes.
that I understand normal people have some familiarity with, but I did not before I saw him in this.
He
Well, I
plays.
think you might have
sorry.
about to say what I was going to say, Brennan. So
I was gonna say he plays a long-term recurring character on Schitt's Creek.
Okay, I haven't seen
yeah,
Schitt's
that
Creek,
that is
so-
why normal people have awareness
Got it.
of him. I also have never seen Schitt's Creek.
Something is very wrong with his jaw.
Something is very wrong with multiple parts of his body.
Yes. But
Okay,
the one I
well,
kept noticing was his jaw.
I am told that on Schitt's Creek he has stubble and that hides his jaw.
Okay.
He does,
That may
and-
be comforting.
No, okay. So before you can talk about the aesthetics of Hot Frosty in this movie, but Dustin Milligan is a very attractive man, and they fucked him up.
How? How? I don't
Well,
understand.
the hair is a huge problem. The hair,
hair
is
is a
not
no.
really big problem.
at all.
And they also whatever kind of creatine they forced down his gullet has made his body incredibly strange in ways that it was not before.
He has like very ropey abs.
He does.
Like something's not correct with his musculature.
It looks
But
like
it's
it's
also
trying
partially-
to escape.
It's also partially the cinematography of the movie. It's not doing him any favors, making him
Right.
look like a literal plastic Ken doll kind of figure.
Because the other thing that really freaked me out, because he spends so much of the first chunk of the movie, naked or close there too, his nipples are wrong.
Yes, they are.
And like I've been trying to figure out to explain it in words what's wrong about them, and I can't. I just know that
They
they're
feel
wrong.
like they're in the wrong spot.
They're like in the wrong spot, and they feel like his actual nipples fell off, so they like quickly painted like baby bottle nipples pink and glued them onto him or something.
Yes, they're like nipple stickers, but three-dimensional.
Right?
It's like that android lady from Jason X whose nipples fell off.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, confirmed. This is a horror movie.
Yes. But no, Hot Frosty is just really not very hot, was my big takeaway. And I feel like
It is
the movie
not.
made one promise to me.
Looking at these
And it
people,
did not meet that promise.
looking at these people who I fully believe if I met them on the street, I would be like, those are very nice looking people, was deeply upsetting throughout this.
Concur. And I will believe you, Brennan, because I've heard this from other people that he is hot generally.
Yes, he's also played minor roles in other things. He has a very, very tiny role as Anna Kendrick's brother in A Simple Favor, which is styled
Okay, I've
well
seen
in that movie.
Yeah.
But also, please understand
yeah.
that in a very important way, he is not hot. Because he is freezing to the touch.
That's true.
Which I can relate to, so I felt represented in that kind of aspect.
He is freezing to the touch. He does not. He is afraid of the idea of Hawaii because it looks like it is too hot for him there.
If he spends too much time indoors, he melts.
It's true.
He looks
yeah,
like
he should
he's-
avoid
Kind of.
Cleveland because I do hear it is hot in Cleveland.
He kind of looks like he's melting consistently anyway, in part because his hair looks like it's made of wet rubber. So maybe that
the
was
hair
what they
is
were
the
going
worst
for.
part. Like, I do wonder if maybe if you fix the hair, if everything else snaps
Maybe
into
they
place.
wanted to give us the idea that he's always on the verge of melting, in which case they
Perhaps.
should not have sold this to us as a sexy movie, because that's not sexy.
Yeah, well,
That's horrifying.
Yeah. But they took all of the hair from his face and body and kind of just Play-Doh'd it onto his head somehow. And yeah, it's just not the right move.
So anyway, as you have no doubt figured out, Jack and Kathy will eventually end up together. You can tell this also from the thumbnail or from the poster of the movie, so that does not count as a spoiler.
Certainly not.
Their courtship, like everything else in the movie, is most of the time tremendously off-putting, because again, Jack acts like a child for much of the
Yep.
movie.
He
And
sure does.
even if this were not being marketed to me as like a slightly sexier than average Hallmark movie, I have always had kind of a viscerally bad reaction to grown men acting like children.
Not a Will Ferrell fan.
You noticed. Also not an Adam Sandler fan. Also not a
Yeah.
Tom Green fan. This is not a subgenre that appeals to me. But just like any time that I see, like, this is even true in like serious movies where you see like older men with cognitive decline that causes them to act like little children. I have a very pronounced response to grown men who look like they should be acting like adults acting like babies or like deeply immature children. And so I was not into this. And probably the part where I kind of like shuddered the most was actually where like they have a date at a middle school dance, because among other
yeah,
things, that is the least
Yeah.
romantic location for a date you could possibly come up with.
And, like, he just asks her to the dance. It's not like they both need to be there anyway and
No,
they
he
make it a
asks her
date.
to the middle school dance. What the hell?
It's very fucking weird,
And everybody acts
And-
like this is normal.
right?
Yeah, because like in a Christmas movie, it should be like the Yule Ball, like whatever. Like it's
Yes,
just
it's
not
like
right.
the dance
You're
in the
right.
town square or whatever. It's the fireman's ball or, you know, things like that. It's not the middle school dance.
But if they don't go to the middle school dance, we don't get the scenes with the boy who turns out, spoiler alert, I don't think I picked up until literally the second to last scene of the movie that he was the sheriff's son. But
You're not
apparently
supposed to.
Okay, well,
That's a reveal.
good. So I'm not just an idiot. That makes me feel good. But it also doesn't add anything.
No, not really.
And like, I was never quite sure where that child was in the movie.
I,
in the
in
first
fact, had forgotten until just now that reveal even happened. So
place. There you go.
that's how important it was to the overall outcome of the movie. All that being said, I have to begrudgingly admit that there were occasional aspects of the courtship that I found disarming. I think in part of it's because that I still find Lacey Chabert to have an inherently charming screen presence. She is doing all she can, which is not very much, with what she has been given, which really is not very much. And she manages to sell it most of the time as something she is not ashamed to be doing, which I don't think
That's-
most of us could pull off here.
That's very fair.
Yeah.
And my favorite scenes in the movie, honestly, are the ones where they're just like watching TV together, because it's the time when they seem the most like normal. And
Yeah,
I desperately
connecting
wanted
on-
something to seem normal while this was going on.
Yeah, and well, they spend so little of the movie together. Actually, like they're separated from so much of it. And I would say, for me, one thing that made no sense to me that kind of deflates a lot of that is that I feel like the movie is genuinely uninterested in being horny.
That was one of my problems with it.
Yeah, like, because it does have those kind of book club gags where there's older ladies around the town who are, like, really into him. But you almost never get the sense that Lacey Chabert is aware that he's hot, which is the premise of the movie.
Right.
I wonder if she too is put off by his sharply square jawline.
Maybe she is, but the
Maybe.
character should not be. Kathy should
It's
think
true.
she's that he's hot and should have a reaction to it. She
And-
doesn't until like 2/3 of the way through the movie in one sub part of a scene.
And like to your point, Mandy, it feels like Kathy spends the vast majority of the film being very irritated that she has to deal with him.
Which I don't blame
Because
her,
he's-
because he's
No,
constantly
because he's such
pawing
he's
at
such a
her and
useless
touching her and
child.
acting like a child.
And like, and that seems to be her arc. Really, is not like that she's in love with him, but that she's just trying to figure out how to like get him out of her house, basically.
And eventually she just comes to accept that he's not leaving her house, and
Right.
maybe I can learn to love this man-child thing, which, again, to me, that, okay, this is a horror movie now.
Yeah. And like I will say, the gags with the older ladies who all were very horny for Hot Frosty, they are the laziest gag. Well, not the laziest. There's some lazy gags. They're very lazy.
They're very lazy.
They're very lazy. But they were sold with enough commitment that I did not laugh. Like I was sort of like,
I absolutely giggled at the
those
old
moments.
ladies.
I giggled at the old ladies, which is one of the only times that I did so. I certainly did not giggle at all at the sheriff, who's the other big comic relief character. And I'm drawing a blank on
What an absolute
Craig
waste
Robinson.
of Joe.
Craig Robinson. Thank you.
What an absolute waste of both him and Joe Latrulio.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like dreadful, dreadful comic relief. So I did find the horny old ladies comic relief at least slightly amusing, even though it's just desperately, desperately lazy. But like that is the only time this movie feels even slightly like it knows that PG-13 is a rating to which it can aspire. And like I was led to believe that Netflix's push this season was for a hornier breed of Netflix Christmas movies, and this is not.
That is certainly
This is
what
a
I had heard, and now I'm
very
wondering, did I
chaste
hear this
movie.
from Netflix or from the internet, or...
Well,
Certainly
the
from
next-
Netflix.
The next movie, their second Christmas movie, which I believe is out now, is about male strippers.
Ooh.
So in theory, it will be somewhat more horny than this.
Okay.
I think it's
Oh,
called
I
The
am
Merry
certain it will not
Gentleman.
be.
we shall see.
Okay.
Yeah, The
It's
Merry
about
Gentleman, which had
strippers.
Yeah, but it's a Netflix
Okay.
movie about strippers.
That's fair. That's
Yeah,
fair.
it's Christmas Magic Mike.
Oh, good.
But Magic Mike is horny.
Yeah, no, but it's
But it's
Netflix.
Christmas
There's not
Magic
gonna-
Mike, produced by
Oh,
Netflix.
I will say, the other time I laughed at the movie on the subject of horny, not because it was a joke. I think I was laughing at the movie, not with it. But when Hot Frosty first becomes a person, and he's like leaning over, and all he's wearing at this point is the scarf. They've like glued the scarf to him like it's underpants, so we can't see his junk.
That's
And
pretty
the
solid.
scarf is like flopping in ways that are clearly not even vaguely beholden to the laws of physics, and I found it very funny.
It's true. That was also very weird.
Yeah, I mean, Hot Frosty's not a good time, but you have to split your brain between the I'm watching a bad movie versus, oh, that was kind of sweet, and then try to enjoy both of those things at the same time.
I will say that both of the elderly mothers I have discussed this movie with found it a great time.
Okay. That's good. They are agreeing with all of the elder ladies in the town.
Exactly.
You also have to, you know how, like, people will tell you for a lot of movies that you just need to turn off your brain? For this one, for both reasons we have discussed and also reasons we have not, you need to turn off your eyes. Because the
Oh
whole
my
thing
God,
is
this
so
is an ugly movie.
ugly.
I haven't seen a Netflix original for a while,
It's got the Netflix.
Is this what they look like?
It's got the Netflix sheen all over it. The thing where it seems like everything has been smeared with a thin layer of orange-tinted Vaseline.
Thank you. So the tinting wasn't just me.
And then blasted with school picture day lighting.
Okay, because like I mentioned in my initial Letterboxd post that everything felt pink, and then I was like, no, I just wasn't seeing it right, so I took that out. But now I'm hearing you call
No,
it
it's so
orange-tinted.
ugly.
Okay,
Either that or both of our TVs have the same weird defect that is only present when this movie plays.
When Hot Frosty is playing.
Our televisions are rebelling against having to play Hot Frosty for us.
Insanely bad lighting in this film.
It's so awful.
Yeah, no, it is ugly inside and out in very many ways. And I will say
so I think we all agree though, Hot Frosty, great film to watch with the family over Thanksgiving.
Yes, absolutely.
No, yeah, definitely. I would definitely recommend this as a watch to people.
Mm-hmm. Also, I will say, just, this is a little backdoor brag a little bit, but also, so it has an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is deeply upsetting. But one of the reasons...
fucked up.
I just will say, I am one of the brave warriors who have pushed it down to 86, because it used to be 100. My reviews I write for Screen Rant are now Rotten Tomatoes approved.
Oh, very good. And you are a gentleman and a scholar in this regard.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to fight for what's right.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
My closest to that particular achievement, I am the individual who made the Beatles film Magical Mystery Tour go from fresh to rotten.
Ooh.
And I feel that I was doing the world a great service when I made that happen.
That is a beautiful, beautiful moment in your life, and I want to honor that as well.
Thank you. Do we have anything else to say about Hot Frosty?
I think we probably shouldn't, because we have talked for so long.
We've talked for so long, and we're only halfway through, so it is a good time, I think, for us to take a break.
I will say one additional very short thing, which is that it is really lovely to see a Netflix original made with any level of aching sincerity.
Yeah, I hear that.
Because I don't think I'd ever seen one of those before. And it's a nice change. Okay, now we're done.
Okay. Well, speaking of sincerity, we have very, very sincere thanks to our Patreons who we have completely overhauled the Patreon system. As Brennan mentioned, we're trying to get the old Patreon swept away, but while we're doing that, we've also introduced a much more streamlined series of posts that are all basically make me personally do something, which is more manageable for us. But so thank you to everyone who has signed up for the new version of Patreon. And just to quickly go through the names, there's a lot of them because we've had quite a lot of upheaval to the Patreon. So thank you to everyone who has signed up first for the director tier. We have sold out the 12 extant spots in that tier. There may be more. These are the people who are entitled for me to write a movie at their movie review at their request. And the brave souls who've joined that level are Micah Clark, Two-Headed NB, Carl Beasley, Gavin, Harold Bleacher, Sting, Kevin Riggle, Brian Fowler, Benjamin Thernstrom, Kelson Dale, Benjamin Ross Johnson, and Josh Lawrence. Thank you all very much. Following them very closely at our screenwriter tier, those are the people who get to pick a movie for me to talk about on this here podcast. That is MC Stefan, Kyrie Knighting, Freya, CRD, Halvarthur Jon Gudmundsson, Dan Prestwich, you filthy son of a bitch, Max Jacobson, and David G. At our crew head tier, these are the people who get to have early access to classic reviews, which we're going to start doing early access in the upcoming month, as well as joining our quarterly trivia night, which we'll be sending out information about in a couple months when we're ready to do one of those for the first time. But our crew head tier Patreons include E-Mob, Zev Burrows, Richard Peterson, and would you look at that, our very own Mandy Albert. Thank you, Mandy.
My pleasure.
For supporting the show.
I would not miss those trivia nights.
Well, thank you. Next tier, production assistant. These are the people who get to vote in our polls, which we're going to start putting out more and more of those as we enter the new year. So look out for some of those. Right now, at that tier, we have Brendan McAllister, Mark Falconer, Chris Carollo, and then finishing things up, our in the audience tier, people who wanted to support the show, and we thank you very, very much, Tristan F. and Matthew Neville. So thank you to everyone who signed up for a new Patreon level. If you haven't taken a look at the new Patreon, please do so. We still have a couple of those screenwriter tiers left That's the one that lets you pick a movie for me to talk about on the podcast. And we'll see if I can get my schedule a little bit more wrangled than it's been in the past year or so. I might open up some more of those director tier posts in the next few months. So if you want to have me write a full-length review, keep an eye out for that, and we'll see what we can do. But with that, let's go ahead and switch over to our second part of the episode.
Okay, yeah, we should streamline this part a little bit.
Are we ready? Are we ready?
I think so.
Yes.
Okay. So what we're going to do this episode is we'll always do on the fourth Tuesday of the month. We're going to use this opportunity to look at the movies coming out in the month to come. So we're talking December 2025 here. Brendan, were you about to say something?
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, I mean, maybe we'll do like shorter blurbs on this one. I think this is the first episode back. I think we've learned we should do one movie a piece in the intro. Probably
we knew that. I had to get through Patreons though. I wanted to try and carve my way through that as quickly as I could.
Much appreciated on behalf of the Patreons.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know that we have to talk about every single film on this list, and there's not actually that.
Yeah, I'm
going to
be honest. I have no opinions on more than half of these. So
yeah, that sounds great.
That's thank you for your vote of yes. But yeah, so we dive right in and talk about the film coming out on December 6th, or at least the only wide release film, which is Y2K, a film that is horror-ish, but is it horror parody? But it's either way, it's an A24 horror film, and I have already lost interest.
Yeah,
once I hear that phrase.
It's directed by Kyle Mooney from SNL, who's done these kooky, weird things. He did Brigsby Bear. I don't remember if he directed that, but he was in it. Just these weird kind of indie comedies. And this is like, he has slightly more money, but it just kind of looks like Mitchell's versus the Machines plus Stranger Things in the 2000s. And it's just like, oh, okay.
I also just saw Fred Durst in the cast, and yeah, my interest is gone now.
Well, there you go.
And I hate to say it, Julian Dennison is in the cast. He's one of the main kids. Appears to be some sort of teenage house party. Mm-hmm. And Julian Dennison made such a huge positive impression on me in Hunt for the Wilder People. And absolutely every choice he's made since Hunt for the Wilder People has just... I don't even think it's the choices he's making. I think it's the projects that want to hire him.
Yeah.
Tend to be dire projects.
Yeah, no, he was in what? Deadpool 2, second
2, Godzilla vs. Kong, Christmas Chronicles 2.
Oh, yikes.
He plays like the evil elf in Christmas Chronicles Part 2.
Oh, isn't he in that bad Home Alone movie too? Home Sweet Home Alone?
You're going to have to be more specific than that.
Yeah, the new Disney Plus one.
I am not seeing him in Home Sweet Home Alone.
Oh, I thought maybe I'm misremembering. Never mind. But yeah, that's such a bummer because I feel the exact same way. He was so good in Hunt for the Wilder People.
Yeah, but so do we have any pro votes for Y2K?
Nope.
Nah.
I do want to quickly, just talk about the limited releases, aka the films that I won't be seeing because I live in Madison, Wisconsin, where we don't get movies. But we have, I think, a sort of prestige adjacent. Probably not like in the hunt for too many Oscar nominations, but maybe one or two. A film from Mariel Heller, the director of Can You Ever Forgive Me, and that Mr. Rogers picture.
Good Day in the Neighborhood?
Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Yeah.
Was it Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood or Won't You Be My Neighbor? Which was the one with Tom Hanks?
Oh God, I think it was.
I believe that's Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Day in the Neighborhood.
It was the one that was a feature and not the one that was a documentary. But she directed both of those. She's coming back with Night Bitch, which I gather is like a feminist werewolf movie. It
is, and it's based on a feminist werewolf book that I put down after a chapter and a half. So I'm not that excited about it.
Okay.
I've had quite enough message horror for a while.
I mean, I will say this, of the two message horror films released, I shouldn't even say message, of the two elevated horror films releasing on December 6th, I'm far more interested in Night Bitch than Y2K, because I'm done with A24.
That's fair. But at this point, for me, we're judging levels of indifference rather than levels of interest.
Fair.
Yes, very much. And just to circle back really quick, Home Sweet Home Alone kid is Archie Yates, who's from a different Taika Waititi movie. He's second banana in Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, sure. And I do just want to point out, it's going to suck because no way is a film that I'm personally interested in this much going to be good. But The Return is another limited release starring Ralph Fiennes as Odysseus and Juliette Binoche's Penelope, and is apparently just an adaptation of the last chapter of the Odyssey. And I'm interested in that, and I'll be very disappointed by it, I am sure.
Can't wait. Can't wait to read your Letterboxd review in 3 months.
Indeed.
So is that December 6th?
Yeah, that was December 6th. So who wants to grab December 13th?
I think Mandy should.
December 13th. All right, so on December 13th, we have, first, The Lord of the Rings, The War of the... What the fuck?
Rohirrim.
Rohirrim. Okay, rule number 1 for your blockbuster movie, don't put shit in the title that isn't words. I don't care if they're J.R.R. Tolkien words. Don't make it really hard to say.
This is now the second time a big budget Tolkien adaptation has used a fake word, because there's also The Desolation of Smaug.
Yes, that wasn't good either.
And like what's wrong? Who's minding the store? Don't put a word that only people like me can pronounce in the title of your, to be fair, not very big budget anime film.
No, yeah, it feels so tossed off. It's such a needless brand extension exercise, it feels, and at least to me it looks ugly. The aesthetic in the character designs that I've seen do not appeal to me at all.
I will say this, I am interested in principle on a Japanese animated film set in Tolkien's deal.
This could be the Animatrix of Tolkien.
It sure could. I don't really love this particular aesthetic, but I'm rooting for the concept enough that I'm going to see this.
Okay, cool.
I will see it
another
someday.
one that you will have to let me know.
And how. And I will say, the director, the ad campaign is trying to make Kamiyama Kanji, the director, they're trying to say like he's some very important person. That's not, as far as I can tell, actually true. But he's been attached to, like, he's done some Ghost in the Shell shit. He did the remake of Jinro, The Wolf Brigade. So things that exist in the world, not anything that I would say is crazy important. He did that Blade Runner anime when they did those Blade Runner shorts for 2046 or whatever the Blade Runner picture was.
Oh, yeah, another thing that I just ignored wholesale.
Fair.
Speaking of things we can ignore wholesale, the other big Y release coming out on December 13th is Kraven the Hunter, which I am told is to be the 6th film in the Sony Spider-Man universe, or the SSU.
They have been trying to release Kraven the Hunter for like 3 years. It has been completed forever. I don't think it's coming out. I think they will somehow find a way to prevent it from coming out.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think Aaron Taylor Johnson is hot, and that's nice for him. But this movie looks like so much vanilla nothing. It doesn't seem to have a concept. And sorry, there's so much. Sorry, my brain just melts. I think Russell Crowe could be giving.
I was going to say, I just reminded myself why I am actually looking forward to Kraven the Hunter, and it's Russell Crowe playing a Russian.
Yeah, this is the first one on the list that I actually know I'm going to see, which is my problem. But it doesn't look like it's going to be zestily bad in the way that Madame Web was.
No, like clearly, Madame Web and Morbius, thank you, both have good bad movie energy, and Kraven just has mediocre comic book energy.
Yes, which is
possibly with one good Russell Crowe character, like cartoon character performance.
Yeah, so that's kind of a bummer. I am going to see it though, unfortunately for me.
What? Is like a job thing?
No.
Is it just because you love all the Marvel movies so much, Brennan?
I've seen every Sony Spider-Man universe, and I love to watch. I want to watch it crash and burn. I want to see it continue to try to be a franchise.
I get that. I don't think this one's going to be bad enough.
Yeah, that's going to be the bummer. But I'm very curious because have either of you seen Venom: The Last Dance yet?
Not yet. Although
Okay.
I know that I will.
I will say there is a promise of a Thanos-esque figure in that movie that is just simply not going to pan out. But I want to see them
because
continue
Craven's
to try.
been in the can since before Venom was in production.
Yeah, I think you're right. But this can only be the last one, right? This is not going to make money.
No, stop talking.
What's-
They're going to hear you.
We still don't even have like a Rhino standalone, and I believe Rhino is introduced again in this movie.
Oh, let's go. I'd simply have problems, and I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
For limited
And as you
releases.
said, he's hot.
Yeah,
Is this even a movie? I don't know what this movie is.
The Last Showgirl. It is.
Oh, it's the new Gia Coppola movie.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah, and Pamela. It's the Pamela Anderson is old and isn't that sad movie.
I hated the Gia Coppola movie starring Andrew Garfield as like a televangelist or whatever the hell it was. I would have to have like unambiguous evidence that Pamela Anderson is getting an Oscar nomination before I will consider seeing this movie.
Yeah, if that evidence appears, I'm a little bit interested in this one.
It does seem like Pamela Anderson's doing a good job from what I've seen of it. But it also looks like it's trying to be a Sean Baker movie and it's going to fall flat on its face.
Oh, I don't like that idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Gia Coppola is the genes stopped generating when they hit that generation. Is what I'm saying about Gia Coppola.
These things happen.
That makes sense.
Just like, I can't recall a bad time that I've had watching Pamela Anderson.
Yeah.
I can't recall a time I've had watching Pamela Anderson.
Yeah, I don't know that I've actually seen her perform in anything. I have. She was in Barbed Wire, right? I have
She
that
was.
Blu-ray. Okay, I have not seen it yet, but I do want to see
And
that.
she's fun in that. And I haven't actually seen her in that many films, but back when I was watching a lot of pro wrestling, I saw a lot of her. And she's
Oh.
fun.
Okay.
I believe it.
And I will point out, since we assembled our list, I think they actually have announced a new wide release this weekend that we skipped. September 5th is expanding wide.
Oh yeah, what the fuck is that?
Weekend. That's Paramount's big Oscar play. It is a movie about the aftermath of the Munich Olympics terrorist attack or hostage situation. But this time, instead of being an interesting thriller about moral culpability, it's about covering it on the news.
Oh, okay.
Yay.
Well, because movies about reporters have done pretty well at the Oscars.
Oh, I feel like September 5th is on the list of movies that could very easily get like the 10th Oscar slot.
To me, this sounds about as riveting as Golda.
Oh, Jesus.
To be fair, I don't see how it's possible for this movie to be more boring than Golda.
Yeah, which is still not an exciting prospect.
No.
No. Golda was a dreadful movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Should we do December 20th or blah blah blah.
I got nothing else to say about December the 13th.
And
What do you
December
have to say
20th
about
looks
December
good.
20th?
And by
It
good, I
does.
mean
Oh.
bad.
And no, it has the one
So-
movie I'm excited about. Oh, yeah, there's two. I keep forgetting about the other one, but it has one of the two movies I'm excited about.
Oh, I'm very curious to find out what it is. Is it?
You know which one it is.
I do. Is it? No, I'll ask though. Is it Barry Jenkins's Mufasa: The Lion King?
Hell yes,
Of course
it
it
is.
is.
The machetes
No,
are coming
no,
out
no.
for that one.
Oh my god! Oh, because of Tim's iconic 2019 The Lion King review. Is that where your enthusiasm is born from?
I mean, no, yes, but more than just that. As Tim well knows, a good deal of why people pay him money for things is to see him fling spittle flecks at them in his rage.
That's
Yes.
correct.
Yes. But also, it's not just going to be Tim. This is going to be a unifying experience for all of us in the community.
But the community, I assume you mean the AE Discord.
The AE
Commentary,
Discord
yeah.
and
Okay.
commenter community at large.
Yeah. Okay, because I was going to say, my great fear is that critics are going to force themselves to pretend it's good because Barry Jenkins directed it.
That is a distinct possibility.
And we're going to see just a whole shitload of like 3 out of 5 reviews for Mufasa the Lion King.
Oh god, my boyfriend wants to see this movie, and I want so badly not to see it that he's actually.
Leave him.
I know. But he's bribing me. He's going to pay for dinner afterwards at a slightly fancier restaurant than we normally go to. So that is my that's what's going to happen.
Well, that's sweet.
Yeah. So that's nice. But it looks somehow the CGI looks worse than
It does, because
2019's
you know
The Lion
why?
King.
They took to heart the criticism the lions aren't expressive, which was a huge problem.
Oh,
with the 2019
no.
film.
Uh-huh.
And they have very clearly tweaked the animation of the faces just enough to make them have readable expressions, but they're still photorealistic
No,
lions.
the message they should have taken away from this was don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah, and
But
also
I think that's exactly what the problem is. The lions now look like this insane photorealistic cartoon character thing.
Yeah, that's not okay. And the prequels make me itchy. It's a thing I almost never want out of a franchise. I just want the story to keep going forever. I want everything to get a sequel. I'm not going to watch all of them, but I love that.
Also, if I'm reading the trailer correctly, a prequel that argues that Scar has the more legitimate claim to the Lion King throne than Mufasa does.
That seems to be the case, which is truly wild.
That is a choice there.
Well, because everybody has to wicked everything now.
Apparently.
Yep. Yeah, this is the Lion King's Cruella. But with new original music by Lin-Manuel Miranda. No, thank you.
Yay!
I had not encountered that fact until this very moment.
Yeah.
Enjoy your best original song nomination and probably win.
Does that mean he's not doing the songs for Moana 2?
It does.
He's not.
Oh.
Which is so sad because Moana is his
Moana
best
has
work.
okay songs. It is,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, Moana is his best work, and then the song about pubes that he did for Big Mouth Season 7 is his second best work. But the one line of music that they let slip into the trailer that's trying to pretend it's not a musical doesn't even sound like music because it's Lin-Manuel Miranda's thing that he does, which is just paragraphs of text that is shoved into a rhythm.
Shoved into a rhythm.
He has horribly bland.
A rhythm is playing while they
descriptive-
are being recited.
Yeah, horribly bland descriptive lyrics. But it's just a line from Scar that's repeated in the trailer. It's like, I've always wanted a brother. And then the song part is, I've always wanted a brother. I've always wanted a brother. And I wish that Scar would toss me into a stampede of wildebeests when I hear that. And I'm going to have to watch this movie, and I'm so pissed off about it.
I have to see this trailer because I was not aware there was a trailer that had a whisper of music in it yet. Luckily. I'll probably see it in front of Wicked. I should just wait until I see Wicked this week.
Yeah, probably.
Jesus. And I want to temper expectations, though, because I'm looking forward to hating this movie. But I feel like I vented my spleen on The Lion King 2019 in a way that I don't, as this movie itself is going to prove, franchise extensions just don't always work out, and I don't think I'm going to be able to hit that level. So I'll do my best, but let's just... Dead dog's asshole on a hot day is a phrase I come up with once a decade. I'm not coming up with another phrase like that for this review.
That's fine.
Yeah, we gotta wait till Zazu, the Bird King, or whatever the fuck is next.
Jesus Christ.
Starring
The
John
live-action
Oliver,
Moana
everybody's
starring
favorite
Rocket
aspect of
Moana.
The Lion King 2019.
And how?
Certainly.
Now that we've
Anything
all
else
made
on-
ourselves sad.
Yeah, we'll perk right back up with Sonic the Hedgehog 3, a totally necessary brand extension.
You know what? Of those two movies, the one I will get more unironic pleasure out of will be Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
That sounds right. This is one I'll skip. I fully intended to watch Sonic the Hedgehog 2, missed it, never felt bad about it. So I'm just going to keep going with that.
Why ever would you?
Yeah, exactly. Also, the idea that Jim Carrey is doing a double role as also Robotnik's father is just, it's so 90s in a way that I do not need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, and Mandy, thoughts on Sonic 3?
No.
Bless
Right.
you.
But those limited releases.
Yeah, so we have The Brutalist, which I have no interest in. Do you have interest in it, Tim?
I'm fucking stoked out of my brain for The Brutalist.
Oh, why?
Because
Tell me
it's a
about it.
3.5 hour movie by Brady Corbett, who I loved Vox Lux.
Okay.
And seeing him like play in this post-war architecture mode for a movie that 3.5 hours is, I think, officially long enough that it goes from like, ugh, your movie's too long to, oh, you are just trying to make your movie an ordeal.
3.5
And
hour
I'm very
movies are
excited.
3.5 hours on purpose.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, a 2.5 hour movie is a mistake. A 3.5 hour movie is a statement. Is how I feel.
And it's a statement. It is a sign posted that says, Brennan, go away.
I get that being a response you would have to the idea of a 3.5 hour movie about, incidentally, my least favorite form of architecture
Indeed.
in the history of humankind is brutalism. So I feel like it's going to be a marathon just for me to like sit. I'm so excited for how much this movie is going to make me feel depressed.
So
Okay.
It's basically where I'm at.
I am interested in this movie too, and I can't figure out why. Maybe it's the combination of all of these things, and everything just adds up to more than the sum of its parts. I have no familiarity with Brady Corbett as a director. My major association with him is that he had a large role in my least favorite film that I've ever seen,
Oh, what movie?
The American Funny Games.
I almost was ready to guess that it was that one because it's terrible.
Fuck that movie.
Fuck that movie.
But anyway, point being, I have no familiarity with him as a director. And
He's the kind of person who would star in the American remake of Funny Games as a director.
Great. Awesome. Why am I excited for this? I still haven't figured this out.
But it'll be
And
so
then
great
it's
to
3.5
hear you
hours.
see it.
It's 3.5 hours of Adrian Brody, who, like, he is not a bad actor. He's not an actor I dislike by any means, but he is not an actor who excites me, at least not to the point that I should be excited at the prospect of watching him do ugly buildings for 3.5 hours. And yet I find myself intrigued by this notion.
Yeah, well,
So I don't get it.
know.
But
congratulations to both of you.
I'm stoked.
I
I'm
wish you
stoked.
all the best watching The Brutalist.
Thank you.
And another. I will follow your letter, but I will read your entire Letterboxd review of The Brutalist.
this is
and
also
I
one
cannot
that,
wait.
again, because I have a 3-year-old, I may not actually end up seeing when it comes out.
Until like 2027.
Yeah, I'll get to it someday.
Yeah, Godspeed. So here's the limited release that I'm excited about. It's the new Pedro Almodovar movie, The Room Next Door, starring Tilda Swinton and Julianne Moore. It is his first feature-length movie in English, which that's the thing that worries me. So his previous English language short, Strange Way of Life, I think is demonstrably the worst thing he's ever made. But the English language short he made before that, which was The Human Voice, starring Tilda Swinton, is one of the best things he's ever made, in my opinion. So I'm hoping Tilda Swinton can kind of swoop back around and help him with what he lacks in English language script writing and filmmaking. Anyway, thoughts?
I hear there's a new Almodovar coming out. I go see it.
Yes.
I have not seen the previous short, the Western parody, whose name, even though you just said it, has already flipped out of my brain.
Yeah, A Strange Way of Life.
Thank you. I quite liked The Human Voice, so that does give me a little bit of hope. But I heard nothing good about A Strange Way of Life in a way that made me sort of bummed out.
Yeah,
And
it
I
bummed
will
me out
also-
to watch it.
And I will also say the trailer for this one feels very middle-brow art film.
Yeah.
It could just be the trailer. It could just be the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to sell it to the rubes over here, so...
But, like, Almodovar is one of the people you can sell in this country. Or at least you used to be able to. Maybe you can't anymore. I don't know. Because
Yeah.
the market has changed so much in the last 5 years. But
Yeah, well, can you remember, did you see Parallel Mothers?
I did. I liked it.
Okay,
I didn't
yeah.
love it. I didn't love it. I liked it.
I'm hoping it at least hits that level.
I mean, if it hits that level, I will feel like we dodged the worst. Yes.
Yeah. Mandy, do you care? Do you care about Almodovar?
Not terribly.
All
He
right.
makes very pretty movies.
He does. He's
They,
so...
they got so much colors.
I believe
Yeah.
it. Every time one comes out, I'm like, oh, I should probably see that, and then I don't.
Yeah, no, I have a million directors like that, but Almodovar's... I've seen at this point everything he's ever made, and I'm just like yum yum yum, give me everything.
Sure.
Okay, Christmas. Should we look at Christmas?
Christmas Day, absolutely. Do we want to start with the fairly obvious one that will be the most worth talking about, or do we want to hold that one off for last?
Which one
guess
is
let's
the
hold it
fairly
off for-
obvious one?
I would say that is the new film by Robert Eggers.
Fair. Okay, fair enough.
Compared to the other options.
Okay, fair enough.
So yes, I am referring to the third film titled Nosferatu. This one, again, directed by Robert Eggers, of The Lighthouse and The Witch and The Northman. It's Nosferatu. I mean, it's a known quantity.
If it
He's,
has
remaking
Robert
it.
Eggers on it, I'm going to see it sooner rather than later.
That is exact. I'm hoping to see this on Christmas Day.
Ooh.
Like
Ooh.
I don't believe my parents will be interested in joining me, but Christmas is going to be weird this year anyway, so I'm hoping I can just be like, look, I want to go see this movie. I don't want to watch a screener of it. I want to watch it on the goddamn big screen. We'll see. I'm very excited about it. I think I'm probably legitimately more excited for this movie than The Brutalist, although mostly because of Robert Eggers' name on it and not because I think we need another Nosferatu. In fact, I think we don't need another Nosferatu.
Yes, that is my thing. So I liked The Witch quite a bit, but I did not get around to seeing The Lighthouse or The Northman just because Robert Eggers is not the reason I liked The Witch, I think. Or at least certainly the thing that seems to have carried over in his other movies, where it's just like, what if everything was square and gray? And I'm like, I get it, but that's just not... I'm an Almodovar stan. I love colors.
See, I like Almodovar, but I also Square and Gray sold me on The Lighthouse. Very
I
hard.
feel like you would kind of dig The Lighthouse. Now that I've said that, you're going to hate it.
No,
But I
from
don't
what
know.
I've heard about The Lighthouse, I
It's
think it
pretty
could happen.
gay.
It's
for what
really
it's worth.
gay.
It's pretty
Yeah.
fucking gay.
Yeah, that's the thing that I've heard about The Lighthouse, and that is one that it's on my eventually list. But I'm really excited about Nosferatu, even though, like you said, there's no reason. First of all, I mean, obviously Nosferatu is such a great movie that, like, hitching yourself barnacle-like onto that is just never a good idea. As far as remaking something, but also because Nosferatu is just Dracula with the serial number sanded off,
Right.
and we don't need more adaptation of Dracula, which is just not a propulsive story. It's actually Dracula is a limp story that just flops around like a fish, and just kind of sails back and forth and does nothing.
Yes.
And so that makes me nervous, but the good parts of Dracula are so good, and if it's just that, and yeah, I don't know, it could be something.
I'm curious, what are your feelings about / have you seen Nosferatu from 1922 and Nosferatu from 1979?
I've not seen the 70s one is Werner Herzog, right?
Werner Herzog with
It's got Klaus
Kinski as
Kinski, yeah.
the vampire.
Yeah. I've not seen that one. I've seen the original. Oh my God. F.W. Murnau? No.
Yes.
Was it? Okay,
Yeah,
great.
it was Murnau.
Yes, I've seen the original.
Have you, Mandy?
Yes, I've seen the original and I love it because, of course, I do. The remake is fine. I spent the entire time comparing it to the original, and
It invites you to do so.
it
Is
does.
the thing.
And I'm not sure that was always the wisest choice on its part.
I feel like it sort of is Herzog commenting on the existence of Murnau as a phenomenon, I think, more than being at all interested in making a vampire movie.
Now, the movie that I dug the hell out of was, what was it called? Shadow of the Vampire?
Shadow of the Vampire, yes.
Which was
Oh, the Willem Dafoe one?
Yeah.
It was the making of Nosferatu 1922 movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have not seen it since the year 2000 and will be rewatching it. I'll actually be doing all of the Nosferatu adjacent
Ooh.
material.
I want to
So
see I want to see that one again because I haven't seen it in years and years and years, but I remember really, really liking it.
And I will also be partaking for the first time in the notorious vampire, or Nosferatu in Venice, aka Vampire in Venice, the film in which Klaus Kinski was such a belligerent shithead to everyone around him. It's what finally ended his career.
Ooh,
Wow.
fun.
That's magical.
Yes. Yes.
But I will say it is kind of wild that Willem Dafoe is from Shadow of the Vampire is in Nosferatu, and also Nicholas Hoult from Renfield is in Nosferatu.
Oh,
Nicholas
I
Hoult
forgot
is
about
becoming a
Renfield.
very exciting presence to me.
Oh yeah, he's got it going on. Yeah, Nosferatu. I'm definitely gonna see it. And I have reasonably high hopes for it. I hope it delivers.
It's sort of in that like uncomfortable space of, if I'm going to see anyone do this, I want it to be a director I love / a director I love has already done this. And my response was like, oh, well, you did spend a year of your life on that, didn't you, Werner? So is this just going to be that again?
It could be. We'll see. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how many rats does it take to really to amp it up.
But there are 3 other films getting shoved out into theaters for you and your family to partake on Christmas Day, if you should so want to. And shall we go through those real quick?
Yes.
So first up, we got a picture called Baby Girl, which is the new film from... Every time I think I'm excited about Baby Girl, I remind myself that it is the new film from the director of Bodies, 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 and I instantaneously stop being excited.
Here's the thing. I loved Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
I know you do, and I wish I did, because I feel like I would be capable of liking it the way you like it, and I just don't.
Aw. That's
And
a shame.
I thought Bodies, Bodies, Bodies was fun. Like, I'm perfectly in the middle of the two of you.
Bodies, Bodies, Bodies felt like walking over glass.
I think it is possible that had I been in a different mood when I watched Bodies, 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 I would not have liked it as much. But as it was, I was in the right mood for it, and I found it delicious.
That is fair.
Yeah,
So Baby Girl, just for the record, Nicole Kidman is having an affair with her intern, played by Harris Dickinson, who is the very hot guy from Triangle of Sadness and Beach Rats.
So even if you're not so into Helena Ryan, are you not like the world's premier Nicole Kidman wish to have her babies fan?
I think many people are that, and I don't think I am the premier of those. No, I certainly do, but
yeah, and this movie, it looks exciting. It looks like it might be an American movie that has sex in it, which would be something, but that would be fun. But also, having just watched Fuggy as a Bastard, I'm like, there's no way Baby Girl's gonna be as kinky as that movie was, and I feel like I'm gonna be a little disappointed.
it's fair.
But Harris Dickinson is both hot and a good actor. I really liked him in See How They Run, which very much fell through the cracks, but that Saoirse Ronan kind of Agatha Christie movie that came out a couple years ago.
I didn't realize he was in that. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, he plays.
I didn't see it.
That movie is about a murder mystery that takes place around the first mounting of the Agatha Christie play The Mousetrap, and he plays a young Richard Harris who was in The Mousetrap, and he's really good as this kind of like himbo Richard Harris.
Okay. All right. I don't know. I will see Baby Girl when I have to, because it's going to get... If nothing else, I suspect the critics group I'm in is going to nominate it, so I'll have to see it then. But I don't know. The vibes don't feel good to me. Although I hope you're right that it does have sex in it.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
It would be a nice treat.
A movie that probably... Oh, you want to go for it?
No, go ahead. You go for it.
Well, I was just going to say the movie that probably won't have sex in it is the Fire Inside, the We Are Boxing in Flint, Michigan movie.
It is that thing you just described, yes.
Yeah, it is such a naked awards push. It feels like completely empty to me.
It is directed by Rachel Morrison, who you undoubtedly know as the cinematographer of Black Panther and Mudbound. I believe the first woman nominated for Best Cinematography at the Oscars. Written by Barry Jenkins, who is busy elsewhere with Mufasa the Lion King. And
What a month for him.
Even just the like Barry Jenkins writer and Rachel Morrison director just feels like such a calculation that was made by the marketing team.
It's like daring people to say anything mean about this movie.
Sort of, right? Exactly. And like the logline is anti-compelling to me.
Oh yeah, me too. Mandy?
I don't know anything about
Go to
it.
bat for.
Okay.
I think we've told you so much already.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's
Also-
about a teen girl who wants to be a boxer and drama about that question mark. whatever.
Questions of race and gender will be raised.
Of course they
Isn't
will.
that great?
However, all I can think about is the Diane Warren song that did not win
This is
Best
what I was gonna
Original
say.
Song.
I was exactly going to say, how dare you, a year after Diane Warren's The Fire Inside was nominated for an Oscar,
Well, maybe
title of the movie, The Fire Inside.
maybe Diane Warren can write a song for this one, and maybe they can finally give that woman an Oscar
Fire
after like
Inside remix.
after
No,
like
well, she'll just have to
73
call it-
nominations.
She'll have to call this song "Flamin' Hot."
Yes.
What? No, whatever like documentary about tortoise shells that she has written a song for, she'll get an Oscar nomination for.
But she won't win again.
No, of course not.
Why would she win?
Anyway, speaking
Yeah.
of blatant calculated Oscar bait,
Oh my
the
god!
director of the Johnny Cash film, Walk the Line, has brought to us the Bob Dylan film, A Complete Unknown, starring someone's favorite, but not mine, Timothy Chalamet as Baby Bob Dylan.
Didn't they
Yeah,
just make a Bob Dylan movie?
Did they? I don't know. It feels like they're always making a Bob Dylan movie.
I don't recall. This is a movie I have no interest in. Not gonna see. I'm gonna be annoyed at how much money it makes. It's we're kind of bookending the year with Bob. We got that Bob Marley movie, and now we got the Bob Dylan movie. And congrats to Bobs everywhere.
I'm going to have to see it because it's going to get nominated for least actor and probably picture.
You know what I am
But at least
absolutely
actor.
going to rush to the moment I am able to, though?
What
Is the other popular music star biopic thing that is coming out.
Well, popular with an asterisk. It regionally popular, probably.
Indeed.
Wait, what are we talking
We are
about?
talking about Better Man, sir.
I need to have this explained to me.
Oh,
No, I
do you?
don't. I don't. I know what we're talking about. Oh God.
I was going to say.
For
I
those,
clicked on the link and I saw the poster.
Yeah, for those not in the know, Better Man is the Robbie Williams biopic where Robbie Williams voices himself because Robbie Williams is portrayed by a CGI ape from the director of The Greatest Showman, Michael Gracie. The thing that's annoying to me is that it seems like, because it's like, oh, that could be something, but then it's like, no, it's just a gimmick because it's plastered onto what looks like a dreadfully generic music biopic.
I don't care. I'm
looks-
rapturously excited for this.
I feel like the Pharrell Williams Lego documentary not being the most peculiar vanity music biopic of the third quarter of 2024 is just beats understanding, and yet here we are.
This is going to be my 2024 Cocaine Bear, where everybody is going to be like, this is not nearly as interesting as this premise makes it out to be, and I'm going to be like, I do not care. I am here for the premise, ladies
I
and
hope
gentlemen.
for that feeling too. That would be terrific. But I do feel like the better movie to feature the voice of Robbie Williams this year is probably going to be Anora because that has a Take That song that plays prominently in two different parts. But we'll see. I hope it's better than I think it's going to be.
I have priorities, you see.
Crossed. No, I mean, like, if you can't have the cinema deliver good movies to you, you might as well have it deliver ridiculous trash.
Yes, I do agree with that, and I fully am in support of Mandy's approach to cinema. I think our tastes are slightly different with the particular flavor of trash that we enjoy, but I hope you get to indulge in it with the gusto that you deserve.
My dream for this movie is that it is achingly sincere, ridiculous trash. I hope that is what this movie is.
That's what Michael Gracie's good at, I think.
Yeah, no.
The Greatest Showman was kind of achingly sincere, ridiculous trash, so...
It is, and I love that.
This is all legit. I feel like Robbie Williams is a terrible mocap chimpanzee will carry us through a reel.
Yes.
Not that we still have reels anymore, but like there will come a point where it stops being gaudy enough to be funny, and I don't know that I think the movie's going to have anything beyond that. But it is from the director of The Greatest Showman, which did keep pulling out new ways of being tasteless. So maybe I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
that is basically my hope, that the movie will, for whatever its runtime is, keep pulling out new ways to be awful.
Fingers crossed.
Indeed.
That would be
Fingers crossed.
lovely. I am definitely going to see Better Man. I just I have tempered expectations.
This is another one, too, that keeps making me think of a completely irrelevant song.
Oh, the Pearl Jam
Yes.
song?
Love it.
Yeah, I'm sure Better Man's the name of a Robbie Williams song. It's gotta be, right? But like, I don't know.
Yes,
I know
but it's
Rock
not the
DJ.
famous
not
Better
tell
Man.
you- I could not tell you a word of a single Robbie Williams song. I don't know this man's work.
I do highly recommend the music video for his song Rock DJ. That video is probably the type of that video. It explains why he would have said yes to this kind of movie. I think.
Well, that is promising, and I will look it up after we're done here. But I do think on this note, we've now talked about most of what there is to come out, and we did not streamline it.
We did a terrible job
No.
of not being
We
interested
did
in
a
things.
terrible job. I think it is probably good that in the future we're going to have a rotating assortment of people, and we're going to be talking more about that soon, because I think the three of us have zero filter collectively.
Yeah, that's
Because we've now done 2 podcasts as the three of us, and both of them broke 2 hours by like a lot. So thank you all for listening.
We're becoming the thing we hate.
we are the brutalists.
We are the Brutals. Thank you everyone for listening. Let us know in comments, not necessarily every detail of what you thought about this podcast, but just what you think of the new direction. We're going to do these monthly podcasts again. Or these monthly previews again, I should say. We will be doing another one in December, although the next podcast to be released in the Alternate Ending podcast family will be a Bride of Alternate Ending, where Brennan and I will be discussing the very wonderfully ooey gooey 1980s horror satire Society.
Yay!
I cannot wait. I've never
That is
seen it.
Also a Patreon makeup, thanks to Gavin for putting that in front of us. So that'll be the next podcast to look out for. And then, again, as I said,
I'm so
January
excited.
preview at the end of December. So, yeah. So thank you, Mandy and Brennan, for joining in. As always, a great pleasure. As always, I feel like I'm going to go take a nap now because I am very talked out. But thank you both. Thank you all for listening. And we will catch you next time.